Excuse me, I think we're on, guys. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 5th, pardon me, it's a 6th day, 6th, this says 5, the August 6th, 2019 Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. We have this evening, we have 4 public hearings and maybe some other business, but we'll get going right away on our first public hearing. The applicant is Deborah Kopinski. Lot size and location is 10,000 square feet at 30 Devon Road, Beach, Hampton, Section 1, map number 1203 in Amagansett, tax map number 300-174-4-11. Description is to construct a swimming pool with decking and to allow existing decking, a stone walk, a wooden fence, propane tanks, a generator, and 296 square feet of clearing, all established without the benefit of an NRSP, to remain on a parcel containing dune land and beach vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 and any other relief necessary from East Hampton Town Code. The zoning district here is a B residence zone, the flood zone is X, and the secret class is type 2. And council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
We do have the affidavit of service and posting for that notice is proper.
Thank you. Okay, this is in my Amagansett district, and I did a field report, if you wouldn't mind, Beth. And let's see, board members, that I have the survey I have in front of me is recent. It's 7/16/2019. It was
Yep.
revised.
Yes.
Good. Anyone need a larger copy to look at? No good?
Nope, mine's
Okay.
plenty large.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Okay, so this site, I don't know, did we ask Beth to zoom in, guys, or is that okay for you?
Okay right now.
I take some beautiful pictures, though. Thanks, Beth. Thank you.
Don't kid yourself.
So this is from the driveway. This would be looking pretty much due east in the driveway at the gable end of the house. The area we're concerned with, obviously, is to the left and the south side, left side of that photo, for the most part. Although there's activity pretty much on all 4 sides of this house. As you see on the survey, a lot of activity. And now I just took a look to show you it was posted properly, and that's a view down Devon Road, kind of looking pretty much due south from the driveway. And then this is, I've walked in the driveway and I'm looking south, and you're seeing that, let's see where it says on the survey, where it says stone walk and then stone, and you see the gate there. So you're kind of, and beyond this photo, beyond that gate would be where the sanitary field would be. So this would be that kind of southeast corner of the property I'm looking at. Thanks, Beth. Okay, now I've turned to the right and to the west, and I've walked across, and you see where it says clearing line, proposed contour, kind of in the center, just south of where it says wood deck. I'm standing on that dune, which once was a dune, I guess. And I'm looking south and west, kind of towards the area where the proposed pool would be. Would pretty much be dead center and to the right of dead center on that photo, in the background. Next, please. And now I've turned, and I'm standing on that same area of that deck, and I'm just kind of looking west and a little north and giving you a sense of that end, of the western end of the house.
But you're standing on the deck?
At the edge of it. No, I've walked out actually into the dune a step or two. I have, good call, yep.
Got it.
You're on it. And to the left of that photo would be, again, where the hot tub is and where the proposed pool would be. Next, please. That's the shot. And I've walked across, and now I'm looking kind of south and a little west at the hot tub. And that's the corner of the property that really falls off there quite drastically. Now I'm looking up I'm looking north and a little, pretty much due north, right up to the north, to the west, along the west end of the house where it says wood walk, and you see the propane tanks in the background, and the walk and vegetation on the left. Next, and then I walk down there and I turn right, and I'm looking east, along, again, the walkway there, and you see there's AC units and a chimney and the slate walk beyond. And I think that's it.
That's it.
I think that's it, yeah. Any questions, board members?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, do we have the agent for the applicant? Good evening. Good evening, Richard.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Richard A. Hammer representing Deborah Kopinski, the owner of 30 Devon Road in Amagansett, applying for a natural resource special permit to construct a swimming pool with decking, to allow existing decking, a stone walk, woodway generator, and 296 square feet of clearing to remain on a parcel of land containing beach vegetation. I'm sort of assisting Joel Halsey at this tonight, who submitted and processed it. I'm here largely to clarify some of the regulatory underpinnings on the application. If you have specific questions about the structures, I'm sure Joel can help answer them with more specificity than I am, but I am pretty familiar with the property and its history. I guess the big question is, why would anybody familiar with the regulatory history of this property submit an application for this at all? I mean, my family's originally from Chicago. They were Cubs fans. That's not the reason. I think the answer is I'm intimately familiar with this property. And in fact, I watched the prior zoning board hearings and listened carefully to the board's discussion at those hearings. You know, they're all available online, et cetera.
The 1967
Seven one?
Well, I didn't watch that one.
Diapers.
That was in hieroglyph. I also read the TAM from the prior hearing, and I also listened to Brian Frank's presentation from the prior hearing, who was the planner on that prior application. I also did want to point out that the prior ZBA history containing the sub-waiver and all those various things that have gone on aren't even listed on the town's building history for this property. So when the Kopinskis purchased this property, they would have had no way or any idea of what the prior history was. And I think Joel can submit a copy if you don't have it already. The building history, it omits all that stuff. It just begins in 1984 like, hey, there you go, you have a lot. Furthermore, the restriction from the southern property line, which is referenced in some of the prior ZBA decisions.
But that doesn't alleviate them from building something without the benefit of a building permit.
I certainly would not say it
All right,
would.
I just wanna make
I'm
clear.
talking more about one specific
I just saw that
requirement.
over the bow.
The restriction from the southern property line is not a recorded document. Today, the zoning board would make that as part of a covenant and restriction, and your counsel will probably tell you that the reason they do that is so that it's enforceable against a bona fide purchaser for value. I'm not here to raise these issues in particular. I'm here to try and solve them, but I do think it's relevant to bring up. No one would have or could have known about the prior zoning board history in the detail that we have in front of us tonight based on what's available at Town Hall. As Brian said in the prior hearing, and I'd suggest you watch it if you have any question, he said this would be a pedestrian application, was what he called it, that would be expected to go in administratively on most properties, but the prior zoning board decisions affecting this property is why it was brought to a hearing. I was frankly surprised that the application that was submitted by Mr. Hillman, that was the prior owner who was actually at the hearing, was denied by the board. Actually, during the course of the discussion, it sounded like a positive application. And the denial seems like it was erroneously based on a prior condition of the sub-waiver, which required the dwelling to be constructed 55 feet from the southern property line. During the hearing, it was kind of referred to as a structure restriction that needed to be modified. In fact, no, it isn't. It says dwelling in the actual body of the document that was approved in 1967. I'm trying to not exhaust the board on its first application of the night, but if you can clearly read the intent of the zoning board when it approved the sub-waiver to locate the dwelling 55 feet from the property line, as well as imposing other limitations on the height of the residence and limiting it to 1 story or 20 feet total, and it was stated to provide more air and light to the property to the rear, aka the southern property line. That is right in the ZBA approval in your file. There was never any intent to limit accessory structures within this area. In fact, there are many legally existing accessory structures within this area that would have been approved as they were not dwellings, and such is the case as the swimming pool that we're proposing tonight. The sanitary, for the record, was approved more or less where the swimming pool is now. It was subsequently modified. I don't know exactly why, but that was approved pretty much right where the swimming pool is proposed tonight. There are a few other structures we're seeking to legalize. Most of them are small additions to accessory structures on the residence. that all meet required setbacks. As Member Deline pointed out, these were built without permits. I don't think it was done, they're small additions, but don't seem to be the real crux of the TAM. So I'm not going to focus on them, but, we can discuss them in more detail if you have any additional questions. The swimming pool, I don't think that the characterization as a 2013 denial as similar to the current application is entirely accurate. The current proposed pool is smaller, includes the removal of the hot tub on the property, which is legally existent, and compresses the structure to the western property line while meeting setbacks. As measured from the western property line, aka it's a side yard setback on that property, we are proposing to have the structure no closer than 39 feet from the western property line. This was based on the prior TAM that Brian prepared and submitted that stated a narrower pool that minimizes the structural encroachment and the extent of land clearing south of the residence would retain more of the dune and may be a better candidate for an NRSP than the current proposal. We attempted to address this concern with our revised submission. But this is at odds with the board's denial, what that was written. I believe John Jelnicki was the attorney that said the construction of the swimming pool and deck would violate the 55-foot southerly buffer established by the 1967 determination in order to protect the dune. That is just incorrect. There are plenty of existing structures within this area that are permitted to be in this area. Swimming pool, it is not a dwelling.
Are they non-conforming lots?
Are they not?
Like such as these?
This lot is not non-conforming. It was granted a variance to be created. Once you're granted a variance, you become a conforming lot. So, in legal actuality, this is a conforming lot. It was created by the zoning board in 1967. There's also a statement in the TAM that said it can be stated that the current application is proposing to be more destructive to the duneland than the 2013 denial. I just don't think this can be true, just based on the extent of the disturbance that we have cut back. The original denial proposed two schemes. One extended 56 feet, and I'm using the western property line as kind of your benchmark, 56 feet from the western property line with clearing and 53 feet with decking. There was a second rendition that extended more than 58 feet with structure and 61 feet with clearing. Truthfully, a 3-foot clearing line is what they were proposing in that prior application is probably not realistic. I think it would have probably been greater than that, but that's what was on the proposal. Our current proposal, which shows a generous clearing line, I think we can improve on that by using, a sheet pile type of method for excavation, shows 47 feet from the western property line, and the proposed structure, the deck, is 39 feet from the western property line. I think it would be possible to reduce or remove the deck if the board thought this would be required. That would further reduce encroachment from the western property line by an additional 10 feet or so. Figure the clearing would be limited to 39 feet from the western property line. While I don't think this is necessarily warranted based on the facts, I did want to suggest this would be an alternative that would narrow the pool, and that would also be consistent with the prior TAM. The applicant listened to the board and its planners, and I think this pool does, in fact, meet the NRSP standards. We are reducing and eliminating the clearing and reducing and minimizing the clearing and trying to protect the duneland, which I think we could file a covenant so it would, in fact, be recognized on the property and available for any future purchasers. We would revegetate any disturbed areas with beach grass as per an approved revegetation plan, which is typically required by the town. We would agree to use mini excavators to dig, which is a pretty small hole, pools that's only 12 by 20, which could be accomplished using the existing decks for access for the mini excavator. Our proposal is consistent with the zoning board decisions in the past, requires no variances to construct any of the proposed or existing structures. More than 1/3 of the residences on Devon Road have pools, and we are one of the few that has duneland vegetation. I think there are more wetlands in that area, but there are more than 1/3 of the houses have pools.
Andy, I have to interrupt. Could you go back a little bit and review what you were saying? What is reducing about you cutting back the decking? You're willing to cut back the decking to 39 feet from the western property line?
If you look at this survey.
No, you can just repeat it, what you said. Go ahead. I can understand it. Just repeat
Okay,
what
sure.
you said. And then you said something about was therefore reducing the, did you say the size of the pool? Is the pool getting smaller than 12 by 20?
The pool is proposed at 12 by 20.
see that.
But what we have
And
done
it's
is
20 feet away.
compressed it over to the western property line. And we're also proposing to remove the hot tub. That helps us be able to accomplish that. The prior proposal ventured more towards the west. And we've cut, 10 to 15 feet off of that expansion, and that's the area that we're trying to protect, that the board was trying to protect. As I
So-
said, the sanitary system was approved originally where this pool is proposed. That wasn't the central idea behind the board trying to protect that area.
So then just last thing, review, if you would. So the pool you're proposing stays where it's proposed. You're talking about cutting decking back to
Yeah, if you look at-
39 feet from the western property line, is that
I
correct?
think if you look at the survey, the western side yard lot line shows decking on that side. I think you could remove that decking. That would put the edge of the pool 39 feet from the western, and it would compress the clearing and the, all the edge of the
How would it
stair.
put the edge of the pool 39 feet when it's located 20
Oh,
feet?
the edge of the decking is 39 feet. If
Oh,
you remove that decking,
yeah.
that would basically push the clearing line into where the decking is proposed. Because there is an area that you can access the front of the pool from the deck right now, I believe.
All right, I'm going to ask Joel to bring a survey up and tell us what you're talking about now, because I'm not sure what part of the deck you even are considering cutting off.
I think it's
No, that says proposed deck. I'm thinking, Joel, just bring a survey up for a second.
They talking about this deck?
Let's just get this straight so we know what you're talking about. What are you talking about cutting off?
What he would say is you could cut off this, right now, our clearing line is 47 feet from the western property line.
Right.
The edge of the decking is 39 feet from the edge of the property line.
Right.
And he's talking about if we cut the deck back, we could even meet a better setback. We could even more preservation of this area.
meaning just shift the
So
pool.
it's not 39.
The
Here's
pool
20
wouldn't shift,
feet.
We would just get rid of the deck.
But here's 20
proposed
feet.
deck?
And then this says 12 by, oh, yes, okay, so that's gotcha. That's 22, this 39. Go ahead.
So you.
So you're saying cutting off this
cut
decking
the
here?
8 feet of decking now the disturbance would only be 31 feet from the property line as
Just
opposed to.
show us, X out what you want to take off, so you can exit off what
We'd
you're
actually
talking about.
we need the pool equipment.
Just show us what you propose and you're going to take off, just so we know what you're talking about. So you'd leave the pool equipment, you'd take that section off, and this would all stay right here?
Yes, that would all stay. But, we're getting rid of all this decking and the hot tub in here.
And you're proposing this is a stay line, is that correct?
Yes, that's the stay line.
Do you guys understand that, board members, just so we're clear?
And the purpose of
Maybe
that
I'll
would
keep
be
this
to
in the record.
compress it even further off
initial
of
it.
that area. of the-
Sorry, say again?
That would just compress everything even further towards that western property line, which is, I think, the intent of trying to minimize the disturbance that Brian just spoke of in his original TAM, where he said, reducing the size of the pool or narrow a pool. I think that would accomplish that objective that was stated in the original TAM.
Okay, go ahead, Andy, or
Well, pretty
Or
much
wrap
I'm
up if you
available
are.
for any questions that you
So I'm
have.
still suffering with the original concept in 1967. So whether or not it's a non-conforming lot today, they were brought to the zoning board for variance. They were
I think they were merged lots in
subsized, so they
1967.
got a variance.
Subdivided.
So whatever, they got a thing. But what happened, in my mind, that went under scrutiny at that time, right? This property went under severe scrutiny at that time.
That's correct.
Subsequent to that, there were a couple of challenges or whatever. There was, again, zoning board decisions, but even more importantly, subsequent to that is you had the development of the NRSP standards, which encumbered these lots even more because of the dune land. So that's what I'm struggling with. And I'm wondering if that's the reason why the denial in 2013 of the zoning board, and not simply for what you're saying, but you're taking a big chunk, you're taking a chunk of an existing dune away that subsequent to scrutiny in 1967 now comes under NRSP jurisdiction and therefore requires even more scrutiny.
I think that's a fair question, but I think what is perhaps the most relevant is Brian Frank's technical analysis memo that was put into the board's file at that time. Brian is fully versed on all this stuff and would have been equally as protective of the duneland. And at the hearing, he said, well, both of those have merit, is what he told the board at the time. The TAM is fairly ambivalent in terms of dealing with this. So it didn't recommend outright denial. It didn't say this lot should never have a pool. I don't know if you could make that statement, but I think it was a positive TAM.
But that's the
on
threshold that we have to look at tonight. is the NRSP standards and whether or not it meets the NRSP standards.
And it was the
Now,
same threshold
there's
in
presently a dune on
2013.
this property, that, if you look at the photo, I'm not sure if that vegetation is proper vegetation. We can look at that. We might want to reestablish,
Oh, yes, we do. We probably do.
you know, but, so there's presently a dune on the
67.
property that
Yeah,
we're
yeah, we probably do.
kind of diminishing, which is not, which doesn't meet
Well-
NRSP standards. So we have to look at taking away a couple of feet of deck. Is that proper mitigation for that?
Well, what I would say is the conditions on the property are unchanged since 2013, when the original TAM was drafted. And in that, I think Brian gives a pretty thoughtful saying, hey, this is a pedestrian application, but we think it could be better if you narrowed it. That is my takeaway from reading that. The standards are the same, the property is the same, but it didn't recommend denial. I thought it was a hopeful, as a matter of fact, the hearing itself was very positive. So I was sort of surprised that the board denied it. And the stated reason for the denial is it violated the 55-foot required buffer, which is not accurate based on my reading of all the records.
Andy, can you, either you or Joel clarify to us which, on this survey, because so far right now, the mitigation you're sort of offering this board is you're taking away a deck that's not there that you're proposing, so it's, you know, and as far as the site, but can you clarify what was built without permits and what was permitted with regard to decks, walks, if you could?
Yeah,
again,
I certainly can. I think we have a drawing.
A graphic would have been good for the file on that, honestly.
And the other thing I want to state is the hot tub is being removed, you know, the hot tub and the
Yes.
associated structures. in
Yes.
that area.
And what's the setback from the the correct setback from the southerly property line for the pool?
The correct, it has to be 20 for
For
code.
pool?
Yeah,
20 is
it's a
code.
rear yard setback or a side yard
But the
setback.
resolution said 25 from.
That was from the other, that is from the other property line?
Well, that was, it said,
Joel, you have to, oh, Joel, let me swear you in right away. Just give us your name and everything.
Joel Halsey, on behalf of the applicant, Deborah Kapinski.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you.
With regards to what's being approved here, the original decking that was approved is on the certificate of occupancy was 412 square feet. What they did was they squared the deck off and added, 88, 94 square feet of decking to square it off.
Okay.
So for one section, we're trying to square off the deck, add 94 square feet of decking there. Over by the hot tub, they added the generator, which was originally approved. That whole section was originally about 368 square feet. Now that's 408 square feet. So they're adding about 40 square feet to that section. The propane tanks, which were on the property line, and I pointed that out to the property owners, and they moved them off the property. They were actually off their property. If you look at the survey that was submitted, they moved them completely onto their property, so those need to be legalized. And then the stone walkway on the eastern front yard lot line. With regards to the 25-foot
And
setback.
hold on. The stone walkway in the eastern, up between the house and the street, you mean? Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's quite a bit of square footage there, right? And what about the back? What about the western walk, this wood walk in the back and the back walks? All right, so this is good? So what about, okay, so this is, I'll take this in and.
Sure, you can.
But Joel, let me ask you, what about all these back here? These
Those are
not
all on the
permitted?
CO.
They're
Those
all
are-
on the CO?
Yeah, you could see the CO.
All of those wood walks and slate walks and cellar doors?
On this survey.
Okay.
Which is the CAO survey.
It's all there. Gotcha, okay.
Now, with regards to the 25-foot setback that's referenced in I think the 1977.
67.
No, the 67 was the 55-foot. The 25-foot that was
72,
referenced
right.
in 72,
Right.
it's a little odd because it states easterly side yard. The eastern side is a front yard.
So what would be the side yard on the one she's asking for on the southerly property line? What's the setback?
For a pool would be 20 feet,
It's double. So you're
Yep.
looking at 10-foot setback, and that would be more.
double to 20 feet, yes. And we're proposing a 25-foot setback because we're not sure if the 1972 determination had a finding. It said we weren't sure if it modified the 50, because it does also state that the setbacks were, sorry, the 72 determination stated that the restrictions placed in 1967 were too onerous on the lot, so they reduced the restrictions. But it doesn't tell you how they really reduced the restrictions. The one thing it does state, though, is the 25-foot, it shall meet a 25-foot setback from the easterly side yard property line. So it's a little confusing when it says that, because the south and the north are side yard property lines. So did they reduce the setback from 55 feet to 25 feet? And that was kind of the impetus for us to, instead of proposing the pool to be 12 by 25, we made it 12 by 20, just to conform to that 25-foot setback from the southerly property line.
Just curious, Joel, the system cesspool, do you have a reference number here? Do you know when that was? It says RO394. Is that a 1994 system? Do you know?
The
Just curious.
the sanitary system was
Yeah.
probably installed when the house was built, and that would have been, where's my property history? I think it was, the house was CO'd in
Because groundwater's at 4.6.
1995, so it would be,
So the 94 probably goes with the reference.
so it would be a 90, it would be a 90
94
system.
permit maybe
Yeah.
or something, yeah.
So, the one thing that we'd like to touch on, first of all,
Okay.
as it was stated, in the technical analysis memo, and, I kind of took a little offense at it. It can be stated that the current application is proposing to be more destructive to the dune land than the 2013 denial. That was stated in the technical analysis memo by the planning department to you guys. If you look at I don't know if you've seen the survey from the original approval, and for some reason, it was noticed as a 380 square foot pool. If you do the math for that pool, it's actually a 547 square foot pool. The decking,
Including the coping.
including the coping. The decking that was proposed was 480 square feet of decking. The pool we're proposing is 12 by 20. Actually, I don't know if I did the math since I've taken my notes. So it's I have it written down as a 300 square foot pool, but,
No.
so 12 by
Let's
20
see.
is going to be 240 square foot because we've
44, right.
reduced it. It's a 240 square foot pool. So we've reduced the size of the pool by almost 300 square foot as it was proposed in 2013. The decking is, we proposed 180 square feet of decking, which is 300 square feet less than that was proposed in 2013. I find it hard to believe that can be a more destructive to the dune than what was proposed in 2013. So it's,
Well, I'll say one last thing, and then we got to keep moving here. I don't know how much re-veg, I know you're offering to re-veg the disturbed area. There's a lot of species plantings there that don't look native, and even that whole so-called dune, I'd be curious if if Eleni knows, can talk to us about, the grass that's there. It doesn't look too indigenous to me.
It's not native beach vegetation. There is native beach vegetation present on that formation, but it's sparse. There's oak trees.
I know there's a few little things I saw.
Some
but
bayberry
Eleni
in
can
there.
We'll let Eleni touch
There's some
him more,
bayberry
but-
in there. There's oak trees in there, but bayberry is a protective species. The grasses that are there are not a protective beach vegetation species. The oak is not a protected beach species. The only actual protected species there, or feature there, would be the dune formation is protected under 255-4-20.
You know what might be good, since this is my Amagansett, I wouldn't mind, see what the board thinks, but closing the public hearing, but with all these things, I wouldn't mind leaving the written record only open to you two, to submit. It doesn't have to be a survey. I know surveys are really busy. That's even okay, but kind of just a site plan, cleaner, kind of like what you did just now, maybe a little cleaner, a little more official.
Yep.
If you can have someone who can draw on a machine or do it properly, so that when it comes time for us to discuss this application, you can tell us and maybe you want to offer some re-veg. You might want to mark up and say, we'll add species here, we'll add beach grass here, because it almost looks like artificial turf, that dune right now to
Yeah.
me. I don't know grass like you and Eleni do probably, but
Again,
but anyway, I'm kind of offering you that maybe you want to give it give us a clean site plan, and give it your best shot. Because I also have to, I don't mind asking you this. I really wonder what the purpose of the wood walk on the west end of the house really serves when you have all these other walks around to the other sides of the house. So I don't know, maybe you want to consider that as well, okay? And we'll just leave it at that.
Yep, sure.
And you give us your best shot.
Yeah, and now I just also want to touch on the point now, kind of the crux of the protection of this area was to kind of protect that 16-foot contour. And if you could see how the small minor deck addition, less than 100 square feet deck addition, doesn't touch the 16-foot contour.
Right,
It
where you-
extends to
where
the
you-
south a little bit. If you look at the pool as it's proposed, the pool doesn't touch the 16-foot contour. The proposed deck that we had on the east side of the pool would touch slightly into the 16-foot contour.
I think you're confused. The 16-foot contour goes right through the center of the, oh, it wraps up, it
Yeah,
comes
it-
into
yeah.
the pool.
It comes into the pool decking. It doesn't go into the pool. It goes into the pool decking.
Comes in the pool, too.
And then,
Yeah, there's a 16 island, a little
Okay.
goes into the pool,
Okay,
yeah,
so-
and then it comes back out.
okay, I don't have
It's
the
like a
survey-
plateau. It's
I don't
the
have the survey
highest-
in front of me,
Yeah.
in front of me. I think I gave you my
Yeah.
copy. But if you look at, the proposal from 2013, the 16-foot contour was destroyed.
I'm sorry?
If you look at the proposal, I don't know if you have a copy of the 2013 survey in front of you, but
It's probably in the file.
that would have completely destroyed the 16-foot contour.
Right.
Again, I mean, the clearing line was 70 feet from the western
Yeah,
property.
well, that's what I'm getting at with the re-veg and all, because it certainly doesn't look like they're doing it should be. So that's why we give us your best shot in what you can do, okay?
Okay.
And we'll keep moving here. Thank you. Okay, let's hear from the planning department next. I think we have it in here. It's in the file. Yeah. I'm sorry. Good evening, Eleni. I'll swear you in for the night, if you could introduce yourself.
Eleni Nicolopoulos of the Planning Department.
Good evening. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So I will start by saying that in the technical analysis memo, I did state that this application had the potential to be more destructive to the dune land than the 2013 application. After discussing it with the agents and reviewing the revisions that they made, I'll say that it is similar, but it is a better application than was proposed in 2013.
Thank you.
We will still argue that it will be destructive to the dune in an area that the zoning board for the past 50 years have been attempting to conserve. In 2013, the previous owner had put in the application for the pool on the south side of the residence. They submitted 3 options for that pool, and the board reviewed those options. And then they denied it based on conserving that 55-foot buffer from the property line. The current pool is proposed at the back of the lot. It is in the similar location that the sanitary system was at one time proposed and approved, but it was modified as per the December 1993 modification, and the reason stating to protect the dune. So that's that same location that they were stating to protect the dune in that modification. The applicant states that there will be minimal damage to the dune land during the installation of the pool. We just want to remind the board that once a permit has been issued, the board has a limited ability to enforce how the construction is done. In 2013, the applicant at the time at the hearing stated that for construction, they would require an 8-foot pathway and 3 feet around the pool for construction, and the board did not feel that that was realistic to the damage of the dune land. And this property has had a long history with the zoning board. Overall, they have made 12 applications. So 4 of those were natural resources special permits, 6 modifications of the permits. They got 1 administrative natural resources special permit in 2006 and 1 denial in 2013. This property also has a history of seeking modifications to negate conditions placed on previous approvals and to relax the restrictions placed by previous boards. So the 1967 determination, which created the parcel, they had applied for it to be 3 10,000 square foot parcels. It was one large piece of land, and in 1967, the zoning board at the time gave them 1 20,000 square foot parcel and 1 10,000 square foot parcel, which is this parcel. So they had stated that a dwelling on the property could be no more than 1 story, and that there be a 55-foot southerly buffer. In 1972, they went back to the board to get those conditions relaxed. in which they did. They allowed a 1.5-story residence and then established the 25-foot setback from Devon Road. So that, it stayed in 1972, and then it's clarified in further zoning board determinations that it is the setback from Devon Road, 25 feet. In 1993, they got an approval to construct a 1.5-story residence, which they modified a series of times, and the residence now encroaches into that 25-foot front yard setback that was conditioned in 1972. So now they're proposing a pool in an area where there had previously been zoning board determinations for setbacks on. So the planning department just kind of feels that this is not a good application overall. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Eleni, for that. Board
No,
members,
but
any questions?
I might have a question for Joel again, or Andy, but maybe more Joel.
Anyone, question for Eleni?
Nope, I think
Just,
Thanks, Willie. Go
regarding the dune, Joel mentioned a number of species that are protected and not protected, but it's the dune itself that also requires protection.
Yes,
Like
it's the
an
dune
RSP.
and the dune land soils as well.
I have a
And whether
question.
they're protected or not. Right.
I have a question, actually. Again, getting back to planting and re-veg, from your site visits, would you agree with me that there's a lot of landscaping, but not much of it looks indigenous or native?
Yes, yes.
You would
I
agree with that?
Yeah.
It's
There is sparse native dune land vegetation.
sparse, yes.
But it is, the dune land soils are also what we would like to protect.
Exactly, exactly. Thanks for your work on this, Eleni. Thank you. Okay, let me,
I
hold,
do have
oh,
one-
good,
one more
take your time.
question. I'm sorry. I'm just a little confused about the location of the pool, and there seems to be two different views here. Is it the planning department's view still that the pool would be better if it was positioned perpendicular to the residence, or as it's currently configured on the survey today?
It's, on the survey that I have, was there a new survey submitted today?
No, there's one, it's the same one, it's a survey from 7/16, 2019. So currently, and actually, I'd be curious on
Well,
the same question, why it wasn't
The TAM
rotated.
indicates a more appropriate position for the swimming pool on this lot would be parallel to the residence. I probably said
Yes.
perpendicular,
Yeah.
so that's,
Okay.
no wonder you're confused. But anyways, I'm
Yeah.
just interested because the suggestion was that what we're trying to protect here is that 16-foot contour line of the height of the dune,
Right.
and whether or not that's the planning board's view on the priority of what we're protecting from an NRSP standpoint here.
Yes, that is, the priority is to protect that dune, so a parallel pool would be
Wouldn't a parallel pool cut into the 16-foot contour more?
I don't think so. It could
Yeah,
be
it would.
long and,
Well, I think it would be right in
would
it.
be right
No,
in
but
it.
you're dealing with the side yard.
That's
setback,
why I'm confused about which
rear
is
yard
the,
setback.
But I'm thinking about here, Roy, if that pool were like this,
No, I know, I get that.
you
yeah.
get that, right? Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, Tim, because actually I wanted to ask the applicant's agents the same question, so,
You mean into the location, it would
it's-
be shifted into the location of the hot tub?
well, I'm just curious why it wasn't rotated, planning-wise, why it wasn't rotated
Well,
90 degrees,
yeah, go in.
parallel, as you and,
would, it would land-
so I'll leave that to them. I'd like, maybe they can comment on that, because to me, that seems like a natural, a no-brainer almost, and you mentioned that, it's, as far as protecting more of the dune by taking that longer pool and turning it parallel to the house, Go ahead, Joan.
Well,
It's still gonna
I mean, you need a side yard setback variance, but if it,
No, you could
If
keep
you
the 20,
twist
keep the
it-
20 feet, Joan.
if you
Oh, I'm sorry.
twisted the pool and had the pool go into where the hot tub is now, it would encroach no more or less on the dune. They'd need a variance for the setback.
Right, or they could or I see your point, but I would think simply another option would be they make it conform and use the same square footage and turn it 90 degrees and revegetate where the hot tub is and without asking for a variance. I think that's,
Right.
I'm just saying, I think that's very doable, and I'd like to see if those options were considered by the applicants myself.
goes more into the dune when you turn it that way.
Well, I would cut it back up into the house where where the line.
I see what you're saying.
I would keep it up to where the bottom of the word generator is.
I see what you're saying.
Along that line, you take off those little nubs. That's the way I would plan it, but this isn't my application, so I'd like to speak to the agents. But thank you, Eleni, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Eleni, board members?
No.
I didn't want to cut
Thank
anyone
you
off.
for asking that question.
Joel
Joel, yeah,
Olson?
thank you, Tim.
On behalf of
Joel?
the applicant?
Could you just comment on that? Thanks.
Sure. With regards to rotating the pool was designed to kind of take the highest point of the dune formation, to protect the highest point of the dune formation. If we were to rotate it 90 degrees, it would extend further into the,
Well, you're,
because right now we're 12 feet wide. If we were to rotate it now, we'd be 20 feet long. So we'd extend 8 feet further to the east.
yes, but that land, I understand, and I'm not planning this application. I'm just, to me, it seemed, as the planning department, I think, feels, it seems like, to me, like a no-brainer that it could be turned and notched up into there and fit into one footprint instead of this peninsula, that this pier-like pool that's jutting out into that whole southern yard.
I think we'd
That's
be
just
willing-
and I'm not.
I think the applicants would, it was my opinion that this was protecting that, but I think the applicants would prefer that design as opposed to this design here.
My question, though, goes to how are you going to construct this pool? Where's your access? How are you going to construct it?
Well, I don't know if I did submit a letter to the file that it's going to be a small tow-behind excavator. I think it's 8 feet wide at its greatest point. It can be towed from the back of a pickup truck. It can be brought through the property. We will have
Can't do the spoils.
there should be minimal excavation. I mean, we're pretty much setting it's doomed. We'll take it out by wheelbarrow if we have to.
Well, we don't like to.
It's
keep things open too long,
it's
but
240 square. It's a 240 square foot pool. You're not going to need. We're going down. In elevation, to 6 foot. I mean, we could even reduce the depth of the pool from 6
To
feet.
get that excavator back there, what's your path?
We were planning on using the deck, the existing deck.
Put
to
an
run an
excavator-
excavator on the deck.
Well, it's a tow. You could push this excavator. Somebody could pull it, and 2 people could push it. It's a hand. It's like one of the.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen them.
Uh-huh.
The deck would handle.
Micro machine.
Yeah, a micro machine.
So I wonder, again, board members, if and we have to keep moving here. Joel, it seems like you all maybe are interested in coming back with some mitigation, and maybe you might want to rethink the pool. I mean, you heard what I said about the notches in that deck.
Yeah.
To the bottom of the word generator. I just think, and I think in the sense of good planning, if maybe you want to reconsider that, we could leave we could close the public hearing, but we could leave the written record open for you to
I think
send
that
us.
would be great.
Yeah.
You amenable to that?
Yeah.
Board members, are you all right with that?
Maybe a simple protocol, unless
Sure.
you've addressed it
Sure.
already.
If you could give us 30 days, that would be
haven't seen it.
perfect, and we'll take all your ideas and see what we can come up with.
Okay. If you're all right with that, board members, you good with that?
I am.
Terry, you good with that?
Yeah, okay.
Huh? Roy, how do you feel? You all right with that? Okay. Okay, then, in the matter of Deborah Kopinski at 30 Devon Road, Beach Hampton, Section 1, map number 1203, in Amagansett, tax map number 300-1-74-4-1. I make a motion to close the public hearing and leave the written record open for 30 days for resubmission from the applicants.
Second?
Concur.
Okay, thank you all. Okay, our next public hearing, board members, I'm going to recuse myself from it. I'll ask Vice Chair Roy Deline to take over the meeting, and thank you, Roy. I'll pull the file for you. Board members, we have a lot of agenda copies. Does anyone need any of those? Anyone?
Nope.
Board members, no?
No, I have.
You all good? Okay. Okay, if anyone in the public, we have a lot of copies of the agenda for this evening. I'll put them over here if anyone wishes to grab one.
Okay. Okay, our second public hearing this evening, the applicant is Angela and Stephen Saul. The size and location is 33,406 square feet at 205 Marine Boulevard, Beach Hampton, Section 5, Block 33, lots 22 and 25, map number 1763 in Amagansett. Suffolk tax map number 300-176-08-26. The description is to demolish the existing accessory building and decking and to construct a new 578 square foot addition to the existing residence with new swimming pool, decking, stairs, an upgraded sanitary system, new propane tank, retaining walls, and new driveway within jurisdiction and setbacks of dunes and dune land. The relief sought 3 variances and a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code are required for this application. Variances of 21.3 and 35.8 feet from 255-440 of the Town Code are required to construct the addition 78.7 feet and decking stairs 64.2 feet from the dune crest where 100-foot setbacks are required. One variance of 255-1167A, 8 of the Town Code is required to allow the hallway connecting the existing residence with the addition to be constructed less than half as wide as it is long, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, VE velocity flood zone 17, and the secret class type 2. And council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
We do have the affidavit of service and posting appears that notice was proper.
Okay. So I did the field report, visited the site this afternoon, and as you can see, this is the entrance to the house, and it is properly posted. I swing over to the northwest corner to take a look at the property across the street. Similarly, the northeast corner across the street. Again, looking northwest, I think. Yep, go ahead. So now we're going into the driveway of the residence. The accessory building to the left of this is the one being demolished. This is the stair to the west of the property leading up towards the house. Okay. So this is looking back from the residence, looking at the dog. I'm only kidding. Looking at the accessory building to be demolished on the right-hand side there. Going up, standing at the deck on the northwest corner of the house, looking south. I swing over. This is the neighboring property to the west. Swing over. That is the neighboring property to the east, behind, just behind that accessory structure. This is going toward the rear of the house, looking at the deck, or the rear south deck. Again, now standing on the south deck, looking east. Swing over, go more towards this. So this picture shows how the deck is encroached into the main dune on the south deck. Similarly, now I'm going to scan. I'm going to scan around to the south so you get an idea of the southerly portion in the dune here. So this is directly looking south. Looking east, one more towards looking directly east to see the neighboring property. I think that's it. Yep.
The last couple were east.
Any questions? What?
No, the last few.
The last-
I thought.
Was looking west, I mean, west.
Nope.
Aye. An agent for the applicant?
Good evening, Acting Chair Deline and members of the board. I'm Britton Bistrian of 21 Napeak Harbor Road, Amagansett, representing Stephen and Angela Saul.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. In addition to myself, also representing, Stephen and Angela Saul of 205 Marine Boulevard, the owner's architects, Viola Ruhani and Jonathan Subject are here, as well as land use attorney Denise Shern, should the board have any design or legal questions that come up in the discussion. We're here this evening requesting a natural resources special permit and variance relief to construct a modest 578 square foot first floor addition and 199 square foot pool, as well as a permit to remove, this is actually a great picture to start with because this accessory structure, it's about 400 square feet, is proposed to be removed, as well as some accessory decking on the west and east side of the house. The existing house was constructed in 1966, and a series of additions to the house and parcel were added, leading up to the current configuration today, and everything that you see is covered under a certificate of occupancy that was issued in 2017. Our clients purchased the property in the fall of 2016. What they wanted to achieve with this project was to increase bedroom count, give them a little bit more living space. So this proposal is 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. Because of FEMA regulations, it's 1 story. The intent of the design, and I think that the crux of the discussion will be on the hallway. One of the variances that we're requesting, there's a provision in the town code that says that if you have a hallway, it must be at least half as wide as it is long. The whole purpose of us, of putting that hallway in was, if you look at the survey, I just want to make sure that we're all referencing the same survey, dated June 20th, 2019, that the northern end of the existing house, this sort of window wall here,
We don't have it.
is still 22 feet away from the 100-foot setback. So,
Could you just pause for a second?
sure.
June 20th?
Oh,
have
no,
it
we were given that, oh, I picked it up today. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The current survey is June 20th, 2019.
Yes.
What,
See if I have
what
that
changed
info.
from the November?
The easement, the scenic,
There was a slight clarification in the graphic of the decking being removed, minor, and the major change was the increase in the size of the scenic easement.
Okay,
Okay.
so
that's all that
still good
Do you
with
two want to
this.
share this one? I'll share with the rest.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
So, just to give you perspective, and I'll just restate what I just said, was that this back wall of the house is 80 feet from the dune crest. So, to add on to this house in a conforming location, we have to get further away from the existing house. That's the sole purpose of that hallway, was so that this addition was going to be as far as possible from the 100 feet and not require a variance. So, we felt that the hallway variance was the lesser of 2 evils in terms of the dimensional variance to make a longer hallway to avoid an environmental variance from a dune crest. We felt that it was more important to meet the 100-foot setback. We also cited the addition on top of this existing. It's a pretty large gravel driveway area. All of our construction is within this disturbed area as far as the dune crest from possible without violating our street setback. Those 2 variances that we're requesting for this construction are the beginning of the hallway, 78.7 feet from the dune crest, and decking and stairs required for egress, 64.2 feet from the dune crest. To balance this these 3 variances in the NRSP request, we've incorporated the following into our project scope. no clearing, grading, and limited dirt disturbance to the existing residence and decking. So that's really key. I sort of want to highlight that one. We're not doing anything on the existing house at all. We're leaving that because, as you saw on the survey, portions of the existing deck are actually seaward of the dune crest line. So we said, let's leave that as is. We'll build a hallway. We'll put this addition on the house. We'll meet your needs, but we won't cause any disturbance to the area. It's protected. We proposed a low nitrogen septic system. Currently, the parcel, there are no septic records in the health department. Probably is from 1966, typical of that time. There's one single cesspool. There's no septic tank on this property. Leaders and gutters don't currently exist. We're removing this accessory structure of 400 square feet. It's CO'd as an artist studio. So we're really, if you take the net 400 square foot there and the 570, the difference is really 178 additional square feet to the property. We're removing some areas of existing decking where we're putting that hallway. And we've proposed what we felt was a pretty, what brought up in the technical analysis was the need for some sort of balance to, some sort of measure to balance this request for construction. Originally, we had proposed a 50-foot scenic easement. We took Tyler's comments into greater review, and we came up with what we think will be one of the largest scenic easements probably on Marine Boulevard. It's 157 feet in from north to south. It's 15,700 square feet, which is larger than our lot area by town code. So it's a pretty significant portion of the property that would be preserved.
Sorry, what was that total number again, Brittany?
Of square, 15,700. And the lot area of the parcel by town code is 15,460. We're proceeding through permitting with the New York State DEC, and as well, we've obtained design approval from the Health Department of the septic system, pending receipt of a permit from this board and also the DEC. In summation, I think this project team very thoughtfully considered the property, trying to take into account the constraints as well as the needs of the owner. The benefit to the homeowner is clear in that their mission to make their home more livable. With a relation to the natural environment, most people would say, well, we live, on the southern side of this property. Why don't I put a second floor? There's the majority of or a big portion of the house is only one story. Let's put a second floor on the existing house. And instead of that, they're really moving to the north, which is not going to give them views of the ocean on this oceanfront property. The scenic easement is also what we feel to be somewhat enormous. It's going to forever protect the natural features between the house and the Atlantic Ocean. Something that was brought up in the technical analysis that we would like to discuss a little bit further with the board was our intent was not to cause any disturbance or not to, start cutting back areas of the existing deck because we thought leave it as is. But the technical analysis suggested that the board should give us comments on that. So I would be keen on hearing what those would be, because if you wanted us to, if you felt that the environmental benefit of us causing that disturbance to reduce the decking area exceeded the way that we have designed it to not touch any of that area, then we'd be open to that suggestion. So.
It does concern me it does encroach onto this main dune. Anything we're looking at historically on Marine Boulevard is to bring things more landward of the dune crest. So it does concern me. What also concerns me is there was recently I don't know this answer. I'm asking it. There was a building permit to renovate the interior of the house.
Yes, it wasn't. 2000.
So the FEMA requirement, the 50% rule, does that apply if you have to come into compliance with FEMA? Is that a cumulative cost of construction?
It would be. The project that was undertaken, I actually handled that, was there was a very awkward stairway from the basement that landed in the middle of the main living room, this room right here, and we basically just covered over the floor and got rid of the stair. So the interior renovation was not a significant one. We did not exceed FEMA with that one, and we're not doing anything in the existing house. So there's no, the proposed addition is FEMA compliant. The existing house is unchanging. Non-changing? I don't know what the word is.
And I wanted to echo the vice chairman's comments on that as well. I would be very interested in some retreat on the southern decking.
Yeah, you can ditto that for me.
I don't know what the calculation, I was trying to figure out if I could figure out what the dimensions of the deck were on the survey. So I don't have a number. But I mean, I would say as a starting point, if we could get it back a third of where it is today, that I would consider that to be a positive and reasonable suggestion.
I have a separate question. The TAM had mentioned some concern that the area to be connected by the hallway would have the potential to become a separate living area. So my question to you would be, would they be willing to covenant that it would not have a kitchen installed or otherwise become a separate living area?
Absolutely. If you look at the plans, it's 2 bedrooms with a bathroom. The hallway's only 4 feet wide, so you couldn't use a 4-foot wide space for living. I don't know how you would. The purpose of that hallway, as I stated, was to get away from the dune crest. The purpose is to provide more living space. There's only 3 very small bedrooms in the main house, but we would definitely covenant it.
I'm just trying to address a concern the
Yeah.
TAM raised that you hadn't mentioned. So if you could offer to covenant
We
that.
would absolutely offer that as a condition of approval. So,
Can
I'll give
you
you some
just address the rationale, is it why the hallway is so narrow versus the length of it?
so the length is set by the 100-foot setback, so that the majority of the addition does not require a variance. If that's 23, let's call it 23 feet, just give me a little bit of, that's what's on the top of my head. In order for it to meet code at 23 feet, it would need to be 11 and a half feet wide, which is really living space. You can't live in 4 feet. It's no longer a hallway once it's 11 feet wide, and the whole point of the 23 feet was to get beyond the dune crest setback. I think that code was intended to prevent exactly what Joan mentioned, not necessarily in this circumstance, we're using it to prevent an environmental variance. So I don't want to be accused of pulling a rabbit out of my hat. I knew this might come up. So we had taken Tyler's comments into our thoughts, and if the board thought that the disturbance on the dune with a retreat of the deck could be, that would balance each other out, we said to the owner, can we look at cutting back the deck? Now, mind you, this is a legally existing deck. I don't know if the dune crest moved or if they built it on top of the dune crest when it was initially built in the 60s. But this is their majority, their living space. It's not gracious by any means. It's very choppy. But we did get her to, or the owners to agree that they would chop it back, get rid of the stair altogether, so that there would be nothing on the property that was seaward of the dune crest line. And that's what the drawing in front of you.
Thank you.
Suggests.
Did you give us one for the file?
I gave one to Brittany, yes.
I'll stick this in.
Just a question, the existing stairs would be removed, so there would be no stairs from the down, or you walk right out onto the,
Yeah, so in order to solve that issue with not having any structures seaward of the dune crest, we retreat, if you notice that area retreated a little bit further back, that's so that you land with the existing height of the deck, you land within building code of the ground.
okay.
So it doesn't require stairs. So it would be a sand path from that point.
And you mentioned the disturbance to the dune crest, if it were to be cut back. How would you address that after it's cut back? You'd be restoring it?
I think, I mean, I'd lean on somebody who has a little bit more environmental knowledge, but I believe that if you took topography of the dune crest at maybe 6 or 1 foot intervals as it is now, that we would just restore it back to that. We're doing a similar project on 189 Marine Boulevard that this board saw recently, where they studied the contours and just restored it to that, and had a survey to check before and after.
Just a note, I drove by that site, happened to drive by that site because it's right down the street here. Just check the limiting fence on there to make sure it's
Will
being
do.
properly maintained.
I'll check it when I go take my posting out on the way home.
Did you happen to bring an extra copy you could hand to Tyler so he could comment on
Oh,
this when he comes
absolutely.
up?
I mean, I'll step aside for Tyler.
Any other questions?
I
here
have no
for-
further questions.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tyler?
Good evening. Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department. Need to get signed in. Sworn in.
Swear.
Oh, yeah, Tyler, will you raise your right hand? Do you affirm and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. So, I mean, a lot of the project has been gone over already. The property is on Marine Boulevard. Marine Boulevard hasn't really seen a lot of erosion since the 70s or 80s, although that is always subject to change on the ocean, especially with sea level rise, increased storm intensity. So it is something we need to be concerned about, especially with dune crests, which this project is somewhat involved with. The entire property is in the velocity flood zone. It's in the state-designated coastal erosion hazard area, and seaward of the federally designated limits of moderate wave action. The application before the board is to demolish an approximately 500 square foot existing accessory structure and then construct a 578 square foot addition with decking, swimming pool, and large driveway with retaining walls and an upgraded sanitary system. The entire project is within NRSP jurisdiction, and the majority of the construction is proposed to meet the required dune crest setbacks, although some of it can't because they're connecting to the existing residence. The hallway, which is in question, it connects the existing residence to the proposed additions, is too thin compared to its length. It doesn't meet 255.1167A8. It appears to be, the purpose is so that they can move the majority of that construction outside of setbacks and just within jurisdiction. But the board will have to weigh one variance against another in this case. Is it worth allowing a rare variance for lack of width of connecting a hallway in order to construct additions in a more conforming location? So it's weighing one variance against another. They do need a variance from setbacks, but it's just for that hallway. The concern with that would be that the new addition could be utilized as a separate living space or function as a separate apartment. That's sort of the purpose of that section of the code, so you don't have a bunch of small buildings all connected by hallways. With the existing residence and decking taking up a large portion of the property just landward of the dune crest, the proposed project represents a significant amount of coverage in a large residence on a fairly constrained property. The proposed project would create a long, sprawling layout, including an extensive driveway, improvements, and a separate living area. The applicant is offering a scenic easement on the property, which now goes up to 10 feet within the existing decking. The board may want to consider what additional mitigation could be utilized. One of the things we suggested was cutting that decking back. I think we suggested a 10-foot buffer between the dune crest and the decking. It doesn't look like, looks like they're just sort of maybe 5 feet in some sections, and then right up against the dune crest and others. Our concern was allowing the dune to stabilize a little more and also allow for some natural movement of that dune crest as it gets blown by wind. Putting the deck right up against that sort of prevents that from happening. So that was our concern. But because they are adding additional decking on the landward side of the residence, we thought it was sort of a good swap to remove some of it on that seaward side, which is extremely non-conforming to setbacks and even over the dune crest in places. That's about all the issues that we had or things we wanted to point out to the board. I can answer any questions you might have.
You would like to see a little bit more of that decking cut back based on the plan that was just handed to us?
Right, yeah. I mean, getting it off the dune, off the dune
Yeah,
crest
it's
is
still
certainly
right up against
better than what it is now. But we suggested slightly more.
And define slightly.
I think we had said a 10-foot reduction,
Yeah.
or a
This
buffer.
is right around 5 feet,
Well, it goes 4 feet in some places.
4 feet,
And
9
it's right up
and
against
3/4,
it in
yeah.
others. So if it could be uniformly 5 feet, that certainly would be better than what is now as
Fine.
well.
And can you comment on the proposal to increase the scenic easement and the value of that?
It certainly has value. It'd be difficult to do much in there to begin with, but it does protect it in perpetuity, helps with it if there's any clearing or anything like that. It adds an extra layer of protection for the board. But as far as like construction on it and things like that, it would be a difficult thing to do to begin with. So it has value, certainly.
Okay.
Any questions? I have one or two more questions for the applicant,
Thank you.
if I can.
Thank you, Tyler.
We know the majority of the construction is going to be in an already basically cleared area. However, the new septic system is going to clear that entire east side, basically. Yeah, it's gonna clear that entire east side. What's going to be the proposal to re-veg that?
We would absolutely be willing to re-veg it. I don't have a proposal for that revegetation right now, but if we wanted to make a condition that the
I mean,
septic system.
your proposal is not to increase the clearing on the property, right? So,
No, there is an
there
there is
is
an increase in clearing, absolutely. All the
oh,
architecture.
you're even on the west side, yeah, you got your pool and everything going on that side too.
Correct. There's, the majority of the addition, the decking and everything is placed
That's
in
right.
this central, but there is additional clearing that's required.
Yep.
And I also want to highlight, there's a deck currently, if you look at the survey, on the east side that runs from the southern point on the residence all the way to the north, and that's been removed as well. That's proposed to be removed in the plans that you have. I think it's tough, this deck it legally exists. It's to say that we can, we're putting an addition on a house on the north side to get away from the dune crest, to concentrate all our construction there. It's not going to have any view on the ocean. The house is going to be in the way of it. Yes, we're adding some decking there, but again, it doesn't have the impact of this deck. I'm sure if you were up there, that's why you live in this house, is to have that deck. So to cut back any of it is definitely something them giving something back. And we tried to balance the fact that there's just a cesspool. There's no septic tank in this property. The 150-foot scenic easement. Those are some really significant mitigation. I don't think we can cut half of the deck off, and that's what 10 feet is.
How about squaring it?
Let's see.
You've got that little notch. How about if you squared it?
Could you show me what you're talking about on the plan that you have?
Yep. Just if you squared it across here.
Yeah, go right across that line.
I don't think that's half the deck.
This?
Yeah.
Well, I was referring to the 10 feet that was mentioned.
Well, from F4 all the way across.
So sorry, I just took your map.
That's okay.
But everyone took mine.
Tyler took yours.
So from the 4 foot 8.5 inch dimension, which is on the east side, the southeast corner of the deck, and run that line all the way straight to the west. I would say, sure.
Sure.
Make that a condition.
Just for, we haven't spent much time talking about the massing of this thing. So I think that's a benefit, a good mitigation to do that, because this property now going to be developed from the dune crest essentially all the way out to almost the street. It's going to be a very long project. So I think doing that on the back deck is more than fair mitigation.
We would accept that.
Other questions for the applicant?
No. Any other questions? Anybody in the public want to speak? So I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and the public record for Angela and Stephen Saul at 205 Marine Boulevard, Suffolk, tax map number 300-176-08-26.
Second.
Concur?
Concur.
How do you? I don't know. The survey from Tim.
Yes. Yeah. So I kind of feel like it's a good, now we're
Yeah.
9 feet back.
Remember Brenneman? Did you give me my survey back?
I put it back in
Oh,
this
you did?
file, so
Oh,
I don't,
okay.
I didn't know if there was one in there.
There's probably one in your mailbox. Was it that-
No, there
No?
was nothing in there.
No? Really?
I didn't get that. If I did, I missed it. If you guys got it, that probably means I missed it.
Well,
Stacked somewhere.
I didn't go to the mailbox.
There was nothing in
Today,
there.
it was there today.
Late Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I don't know, I went today and there was
Yeah.
something there.
I should have gone today.
Welcome back,
I
Mr.
gave you,
I'm
Chairman.
trying
Yeah.
to figure out where this file
I gave you the wrong, that's my file.
Okay,
That's
that's
me,
what I
yeah,
thought.
yeah.
I read all your red notes into the.
Did I give you the right file?
Yes.
I did. Good, good, good. Yeah, I think this is Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Jolene, for filling in there, taking the meeting. We'll move along now to our, let's look at this for a second. Our third public hearing this evening. The applicant is David Geller. Lot size and location, 19,193 square feet at 35, oh, pardon me, I have the wrong one here.
No, that's right.
No.
Oh, it is
Right.
Surfside.
Yeah.
Oh, it's at Dunes Lane. Oh, it is Dunes Lane. Okay, good. I was looking for Dunes Lane, Dunes Lane. Pardon me, 35 North Surfside Estates, Block 356, lots 11, 12, and 13, map number 1690, in Montauk, tax map number 300-29-1-19.1. The description here is to demolish existing decking and to construct a 241.5 square foot second-story addition with 285 square feet first-story garage below, a 634 square foot second-story deck, 163.5 square foot first-story deck, and a 1,705 square foot rearranged driveway within setbacks and jurisdiction of wetlands and freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 of the Town Code, and 2 variances are required for this project. Variances of 47.8 feet and 35.1 feet are required from 255-4-30 of the Town Code to construct the addition 52.2 feet and decking 64.9 feet from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required and any other relief necessary. This is in a B residence zone. Flood zone here is X, and the secret class is type 2. And this is in Board Member Berger's Montauk District. Terry, if you have a field. Oh, I'm sorry, the affidavit of service posting. Thank you.
You have the affidavit of service and posting appears that notice was proper.
Thank you, Counsel. I knew I was off a step. Thank you. Thank you, Terry, if you would.
Okay, well, this is the corner of Surfside and where the driveway goes up toward the east. It was officially noticed properly. This is a shot just of the road and the scene going from north to south on North Surfside. A lot of nature preserve next to the applicant's property, and across the road also is a large nature preserve. And then a shot up. This is to the north. You can see the posting on the left side, which is where the property is behind those shrubs. Next, this is the drive, the brick drive that shows at the survey at the corner of North Surfside. The driveway is shared with the house that is beyond the applicant's house. Next,
Is that a gravel driveway? Gravel.
it was gravel with the brick at
Right,
apron at
okay.
the end. Yeah, and there was another official notice posted there at the entrance to the applicant's drive. And this is the entranceway with the gravel in the front of the house, parking area, and just a view of the front of the house where some of the proposed second story, the decking, and some of the other work is proposed. Then I parked in the parking area next to that other car that you saw there, and this is a shot from south to north on the west side of the house, just from the front to the back. Where I thought I had the chimney in the picture, but I didn't get there. This is, I walked up roughly to where the chimney shows on the survey, and it's just a shot of the neighboring property and the house to the west, which is the nearest neighbor. There's really no other houses I saw in the vicinity at all. Next. Now I'm at the back of the property, the northern part on the west side, and shooting across toward the east. You can see the shower, the outdoor shower there, and the
that-
air conditioning unit.
Is that gravel? Like,
There's a lot of gravel around the entire house, yeah. And from that same location, I just turned and took a shot south. So you see the gravel coming up from the parking area and the grassy area. Again, that's the west side, looking from north to south. Next. Now walk across the back of the yard. Now I'm standing in the northeasterly corner of the property, roughly shooting back at the house, and you can see the existing stairway and decking on the second floor, and where some of the structures are proposed to be replaced with the extension. Next, this is a shot of the eastern sideline. Again, a lot of the gravel going around the entire house, and you see a slight drop off, and beyond the shrubs on the right side, this is the east, is North Surfside Avenue. Next. Now I'm back at the front of the house, just shooting up at the area where the extensions are proposed to be replaced, some of the structures. Next, it's just again a kind of an overview shot of the front of the house where some of the work is proposed for a deck and a proposed first story deck, and some of the existing structures to be replaced. And that's not the last? Okay, I thought that was the last. This is just a shot of the fencing that's going across, that you see the wood fence near the entrance of the driveway that's going toward the west. And I thought that was it.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Any questions, board members?
Nope.
No? Okay. Good evening. Rick?
Good evening, John, members of the board. Richard Whalen, the attorney for the applicants. David and Carol Geller. David and Carol are here. Their havens waving. And we're also accompanied by Jim Grimes, as well as his daughter of Jim Grimes, James C. Grimes Land Design. And Mr. Grimes will just talk about the revegetation that is proposed. I did hand out, just for the record, I've handed out some photographs of the site. Much of that is covered by member Berger's photographs. I did add a couple photographs of inside the house, of the kitchen dining room area. And I do have one from the back deck looking in the direction of the wetlands. But other than that, I think,
These-
yes,
Yeah. I'll take-
3 pages.
Take one of them, please.
So if you could,
Oh, you
you
have
could
to-
take a look
Yeah,
at those.
he handed these to us.
I wasn't sure what member Berger's photos would cover, but she pretty much covered the exterior areas of the property. So this is, from my,
Sorry, Rick,
you know,
sorry. Go ahead.
from my viewpoint, a very modest addition to the existing residence. The principal purpose of the addition, first and foremost, is to enlarge the kitchen dining area. If you look at your photographs, I've taken two photos of the inside of the house, of the kitchen and the dining area there, contiguous, obviously. And the idea is to add, that would be increased by 241 square feet. That is the GFA, that's the extent to which the GFA of the house increases as well. It's on the second floor level, because it's an upside-down house, so there has to be something below it, and below it, the applicant is proposing to put in a one-car garage, and not even really a full-size garage. The garage and the kitchen addition above it extend the east side of the house, wall of the house, out only by 12 feet. So that garage is only 12 feet wide. The area where the proposed addition is going, as indicated by both member Berger's photos and my own, as well as the survey, is already occupied by a second-story deck with a staircase. And below it is all stone. There was sort of in the 1970s, and I guess from the 60s or 70s into the 80s, there was kind of a style in some places in Montauk to have these stone yards, these gravel yards. I'm not particularly a fan, but that's what the applicants inherited when they bought the property. So below the decking is stone. They use that for kind of outdoor storage. As you can see, there are bicycles and so forth stored there today. There are no additional bedrooms. The current house GFA is 1,696 square feet. So the proposed kitchen dining room enlargement would only add about 14.2% to the house GFA. The garage, the total amount of building coverage added by the project is only 254 square feet. If you relate that to the lot area of the property, which is around 18,800 square feet in zoning lot area, that's a 1.3% increase in coverage of lot area. And finally, the decking is being kind of rejiggered. There is a net increase of decking on the first and second floors of only 88 square feet. I show you a photograph, one of my photos, which actually Member Berger had as well. If you look at the front of the house, the entrance, kind of to the left of the entry, is they're proposing to make that really kind of a porch, widen it to the west. That's actually outside the wetland setbacks. It meets the wetland setbacks. That's 48 square feet. The second-story decking, because we're removing some decking to build the addition, the second-story decking, there's a net increase of only 40 square feet. So we need a natural resources special permit. We need 2 wetland setbacks. Both wetland setback variances are less than 50 feet. So we're more than meeting half of the required setback. Again, the area where the proposed addition is to go was already disturbed, in fact improved with decking. The wetland in question is a small kettle hole in the northeast corner of the property. It abuts North Surfside Avenue, which is an open, not paved, but improved road in the urban renewal system. And, there was some discussion in the technical analysis memo about possibly other locations for the addition, because obviously putting it in the northeast corner of the property of the building does put it as close to the wetlands, as possible. I think it's fairly straightforward, and that's one of the reasons I did want to include the interior photographs. The kitchen is on the northeast side of the house and the east side of the house. And so we're trying to enlarge the kitchen. That's the purpose of the addition. So obviously, logically, it makes sense to build in that direction. And that's, enhanced by the fact that there's a deck already there. If you were to build on the north side of the house, you'd have to get there. You'd have to wrap around either the east side of the house, which would actually be more disturbance near the wetlands, or the west side of the house, which is where the septic system is. And if you put it on the south side of the house, well, that's not where the kitchen is. And in any event, you'd have to completely rig your parking area to be able to get into and out of the garage. So all things considered, and particularly keeping in mind that there is a deck already in that area, and that we're removing and replacing the deck with the addition, it seemed like the most sensible thing to do.
Rick, let me interrupt you if you please. Do you have any floor plans of your project here?
Yeah, there are building plans.
Did anyone have those?
I'll show you they look like.
I do not.
They're actually by Michael Geller, who is
Yeah,
son of the applicant. Michael Geller.
Is there more than this?
Yeah, there's more than one page.
Because I have this, here's what we have. We have the re-veg plan,
That came
and
out.
we
that
have
just
this
came.
site plan.
No, you have more than that.
That was July 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rick, also on the survey, Rick,
Let me just address. Jim.
Oh,
We have elevations. We have proposed first floor plan, proposed second floor plan.
I don't know.
Oh.
Thank you,
Full set.
Tyler. Yeah, I don't know what happened to those.
you just mentioned the survey. Survey I'm looking at
Okay,
says received March 18th, February 20th, 2019, with the topo added. But it looks like it left a few details off on the survey that was attached to the TAM.
Yeah, so let's.
Received October 18th.
I'm not quite sure why this happened, but the survey that shows the addition.
Sorry, we're just looking at these, Rick, also.
Okay.
That's where the kitchen goes. Right above the garage. Right, and then the deck, on the survey, it says, what's the next? Is it up a roof deck? So, Rick, on one of your sheets, you show, I'm sorry, I should let, let him
Let's let
finish.
Rick finish.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
On Member Berger's question.
Okay, so.
Yes, I'm sorry, thank you, Tim.
Member Berger had asked about the original survey that was submitted did not have topo. That one, which shows the proposed addition, is dated October 10th, 2018. In effect, that's basically the application survey, October 10th, 2018. I think the planning department asked for topography, and so when Walbridge redid that, you now have a survey dated February 20th, 2019 with topo, but that does not show, I'm not quite sure why, maybe they thought the survey would be too busy, but they did not depict the addition on there. So if you're looking for the topography, that survey is February 20th, 2019, but the application survey is October 10th, 2018.
And if this were to be approved, that would be updated to show everything?
Yeah, I mean, usually when you apply for C of O, you don't usually show topography on there. We're not proposing any changes in grade.
All right, so the garage, I didn't see where the garage is at all, is going to be under the second-story deck?
Right, directly under you'd pull in from the south. It's only a one-car garage. It's not very wide. It's only 12 feet wide. So it's barely bigger than a parking.
It's gonna be
the garage is completely
Underneath where the addition is gonna be, yeah, okay, and that shows on this?
It does, we'll pass these
Okay.
around. I don't know
Just
why.
for clarification, the survey that will be approved, if this gets approved, will be October.
10th.
Just to be clear, I don't see October 10th on this. I see October
It's
you have
kind of
all-
on the
October
bottom.
15.
It's over here,
I'm sorry, member.
I think it was
the one attached to the TAM.
I don't have, there's one attached to the.
Yeah, there's one attached to the TAM, and the one he's saying is the one to use.
Never mind. I'm good then.
Okay.
If you're looking at the survey with the planning department sketch, I believe that is the application survey, but the
That's-
stamp has been stamped, the actual date.
And I can see now the 1010, so I'm good. All right.
But for the record, it's October 10th, 2018.
But this only has a topo with the existing residence, so the one we would be doing is October 10th.
This one, right, October 10th. He said it was submitted.
The planner actually has put the date of the survey on there. you know, anyway, the addition was proposed because internally, that's the only way really it makes sense to be able to enlarge the kitchen dining area. You know, and it is an already disturbed area, obviously that's actively used by the applicants. In essence, we're able to kill two birds with one stone. They wanted to enlarge, the applicants wanted to enlarge the kitchen. In doing that, they're able to slide the garage underneath and in a place where you can access it from the existing driveway parking area.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I read in your proposal, all the, or at least I saw in the survey, all the stone is proposed to be removed around the base of the house.
Not all the stone.
Well, I thought I saw
Well, on the
in
west,
one of the things says the gravel was to be removed.
In the northeast corner of where the revegetation is proposed,
yeah,
the rest of it would be quite a project to remove the rest of it.
well, it shows it on the re-veg plan.
Yeah, on the re-veg
On the
plan, it
landscape
says
re-veg
gravel to
plan.
be removed.
On the north side, going across the back where the shower is, on the west side of the house.
Hold on, let me just get my re-veg plan here.
And
Well,
like
I'm
that.
going to have Mr. Grimes address the revegetation.
Okay, all right.
It's more extensive than I know, then he will tell you that.
Well, it doesn't show it all being re-vegged, but it does show it gravel.
This is the
being removed.
revegetation plan, L-01.
Yes,
Yes,
Right.
that's what we're
that's the
looking
one
at.
that says gravel to be removed.
It does. Okay. Mr. Grimes will address that.
Okay?
So I have, before he does, I have one or two quick questions from you, Rick. With regard to the proposed plans. So just so we're clear, you're adding on, we have the garage on the first level. You're extending out the kitchen on the second level, correct?
Yes, correct.
To the north and east. And just so I'm looking at proposed, I'm gonna go to the sheet so I'm clear. It's your proposed second floor plan. Is it correct that you have the kitchen going out and then the wooden deck is pretty much that bold dotted line there that's being
The bold dotted line is the existing.
I'm sorry,
deck.
it's the squared off line is the proposed,
That's correct. The squared
Right.
off line would be the new decking.
would be the new deck, right? Yeah,
And
you
as I said, remember, there is decking where the kitchen will go, so we are subtracting that from our net.
Right.
The total net increase in decking on the property is only about 88 square feet, and that's first and second floor.
And then you're proposing the full set of stairs over on the west.
Right. The survey actually, if you look at the survey, they don't make that clear, but
I
the
know, they
western
don't. That's my
side,
point.
yeah, they don't make that
yeah.
clear, but that actually is the stairway, the area that goes past the chimney.
I know,
Not decking, that's actually stairs.
yeah, that's why, some of it wasn't too clear, I have
Right,
to say.
yeah, and I had trouble figuring that out at one point myself.
Okay. Okay,
Uh,
and we'll talk to Jim about the landscape.
Yeah, and in terms of mitigation, we're proposing revegetation, which Mr. Grimes will describe. The other thing is the house right now has leaders and gutters, but they just discharge onto the ground. So the applicant is proposing 2 dry wells. They are located, they're shown on the drainage plan, and now the gutters will be directed through piping into those 2 dry wells.
Okay, and then we'll keep moving here. I will be asking Mr. Grimes, I see we do have a re-veg plan, L01, with a revision date, I think, of 7/30/19. But I'll ask Mr. Grimes when, where you do show on that sheet gravel to be removed, I'm sure we're all curious what you intend on replacing it with, so we'll leave that to Jim.
So do you have any further questions for me?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't. Do you?
Do you have a set of that?
Of the
No, I
plans?
have the re-veg plan.
Of the plans?
The plans.
The building plans, yes, we'll
Have
pass
a
them down.
set?
There's only one set of
Oh,
proposed
okay.
here.
All
so.
right.
I don't
Have
have any
existing?
questions for,
Yeah. Do you, Terry, or Brian,
No, I
or
don't
Rick right
think
now?
so.
Joan?
No, thank you.
Okay,
you.
thank you,
Thank you.
thank you, Rick. And we have existing also. Good evening, Jim.
Good evening.
You could introduce yourself and then I'll swear you in, okay?
James Grimes, James C. Grimes, Land Design, Montauk.
Okay, if you could raise your right hand, Jim. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, clarification with respect to the gravel. In Tyler's memo, he mentioned there was a suggestion in there to possibly remove this existing gravel, call it a lawn for all practical purposes. Okay, it's a utility surface that extends around the existing house. We put a note on there. The intention was to remove that lawn and replace it with red fescue, which is not only native grass, it's actually the predominant grass in what was in this area, which was at one time pasture land. I mean, this was all part of the the pastures of Montauk. So, as an effort to make this project a little more comfortable on the feet, environmentally a little better, we failed to put in the another notation saying what was going to be done after the gravel was removed.
Right, because if that were rendered on your, it makes it a lot more appealing if that was rendered onto your little plan right here. You intend on basically replacing all of that gravel around the perimeter of the house with the fescue?
Correct.
The
With the-
fescue doesn't require fertilization
Well,
or
just to
chemicals?
clarify things, if you take bluegrass, which most of our lawns is predominantly bluegrass, Kentucky bluegrass is not a native grass. It's from Europe. Okay, Kentucky bluegrass to stay healthy requires a nutrient input in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 pounds per 1,000 square foot of nitrogen per year. Okay, the fine fescues, which we're discussing here, require approximately 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square foot per year. And when you exceed that, it's actually detrimental to the lawn. So I think you can see the environmental benefits. And typically that would be the grass that would be required, let's say, if this was a DEC mitigation project or that. It's the grass species that would typically be asked for.
Thank you for that, Jim. How often would that be mowed?
Same as you mow a regular lawn. There'd be no point and no difference in terms of the environmental impact, whether this lawn was mowed on a weekly basis or allowed to grow and go fallow. I think for the effort of providing utility space, I would certainly recommend that we allow the mowing of this area, because keep in mind, the property presently is cleared about 11,494 square feet. The allowable clearing area on this property is 14,120 square feet. So going in the door, we're below the threshold of what's allowable, which is somewhat unique on these properties, because typically this property was developed long before clearing regulations. And as you probably are aware, it's kind of an unusual situation to have a property this size coming through the door where they're undercleared. At the end of the day, after the revegetation, we're proposing 10,362 square foot. The areas that are being revegetated, if you look at that plan, are the area adjacent to scenic easement to the northeast. There's a small portion of that scenic easement area which is not in this revegetation calculation, but is revegetated, that was somewhat cleared into. It was kind of questionable whether it's kind of a mixture of gravel and grasses. Okay, so we were clearing this whole northeast area. But one of the things that did not come up in Tyler's memo on these things is you have this entire area here is wetland as well. So what we did do, the existing driveway area is not really changing. The only thing we are doing is realigning that driveway where you see this car. This is the house where you see this car parked over here. What we've done is taken this small piece of driveway, which was sort of closer to the wetland, to the scenic easement area, which is really dead space. We got rid of that, so I think it's about 80 square feet of paved area, which will be removed as part of that. And we'll also be adding in some revegetation in these areas to give a little bit more buffer to this wetland to the south. Because as you can see here, this driveway literally comes right to the boundary of that wetland. So we've tried to mitigate that as well. Are there any other questions?
Is the wood fence down there where you were just speaking there, is that going away?
Pardon me?
There's a wood fence along the area that you talked about in the south.
I
You
hope
know.
so.
Huh?
I'm not really a fan of the wood fence.
No, I
That
mean, so
predates-
is it going
that's-
away?
That predates the Gellers owning the property, and quite honestly, we didn't discuss the fence, how they felt about it. Personally, it doesn't seem to add a whole heck of a lot.
Well, it looks like the vegetation would be nicer.
The Gellers have announced that they are not attached to the
Okay.
fence.
I hope, well, they're here with us. I guess they're not, yeah. So, Jim, if this were approved, as, just so we're clear, as a condition of the approval, you are, just so the record is clear, you are offering to replace, the perimeter gravel around all sides of the house with the fescue, correct?
Yes, not the driveway.
And not the driveway, obviously. Right, okay, just so we're clear. Okay, any other questions for Jim, board members?
Nope.
Joan,
Ready
good?
for Tyler, I guess.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, well,
One quick comment. Richard
Yep.
Whalen, just in relation to the re-veg plan, because
Yep.
I did to take the photograph there.
yep,
If you look at the photograph at the top of the second page, that's taken from the deck looking in the direction of the wetland. The wetland is a little bit further into the woods in a hollow. So all that lawn area, as well as the edge of the stone you see, that's the active revegetation part of Mr. Grimes' plan.
Right.
That will be revegetated with, the grasses are a little blue stem, but there's also shad proposed there, as well as bayberry. So that will completely disappear in terms of lawn.
thank you, Rick. Okay, thanks, Jim. Okay, now we'll hear from the planning department. Good evening again, Tyler.
Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department. So I don't want to go over too much of what was already said. That was a pretty good overview of what the application was. So there's the two-story addition. First story is the garage, second story is the kitchen addition. The Planning Department pointed out that it's not the most conforming location available on the property. It places unnecessary impacts on the surrounding wetlands through increased runoff and an increase in impermeable surfaces within close proximity to wetlands. We suggested, they could be placed on the north side or really any other side of the residence and be a more conforming location for an addition. That being said, the applicants have submitted the additional mitigation measures, which we had suggested in the analysis, removing all that gravel, the leaders and gutters into dry wells, as well as some revegetation. I think 1,100 square feet roughly of revegetation. So the application really comes down to the board weighing the mitigation offered against the what are fairly significant variances that could potentially be reduced, although based on what the application is for, would be more difficult to redesign the whole project essentially to get that to fit. That's where the application comes down to as far as we're concerned.
And how do you feel about the re-veg plan as far as the fescue and that?
I mean, it's mixed in fairly well with the bayberry, shad, and grasses in that area, and then the fescue lawn is what we sort of expected. A lawn is certainly better than a gravel area, so we were fine with that.
Any other questions for Tyler, board members?
Nope.
No.
Tyler, thanks for your work on this.
Sure, thank
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone in the public who would like to speak on this application? No? Okay, seeing none. Terry?
We have
Oh, Rick, I'm sorry.
closing comment?
Richard, only if you have any questions for me.
Thank you, Rick.
I think we're good.
I think we're good.
I don't think so.
Thank you, Rick. Terry, if you would, please. Thanks.
Okay, so in the matter of David and Carol Geller, 35 North Surfside Avenue in Montauk, tax map number 300-029-01-19.10. Make a motion to close the public hearing and the public record.
Second?
Concur?
Concur.
And I concur as well. Okay, thank you all for coming out.
Thank
And
you.
You'll be hearing by mail within 62 days.
Good, how are you? Yes. Oh, sure. Hi.
Make sure this is the right stuff.
Can I put it back in the file?
You're gonna control it?
It was in the file.
The protocol, that's in here. Do I look
Oh,
at it?
yeah.
Or is that something different?
Yeah, I mean,
No, that's it.
Okay, Len, looks like you got assistance getting that loaded?
We're all set.
Good.
Yeah,
great.
I think we're in good shape.
Okay, I will read in, we will commence our final public hearing this evening. Okay. I can't read it. Okay, the applicant here is 55 and 61 Dunes Lane LLC. And the lot size and location, 129,706 square feet at 55 and 61 Dunes Lane, Harry Lee Warren and Jean D. Warren, lots 3 and 4, map number 5594, Amagansett, tax map number 300-129-2-22 and 23. Description: to combine two parcels and to demolish all existing structures and construct a new 8,190 square foot, two-story residence with approximately 1,000 square foot swimming pool and approximately 2,600 square feet of decking at the second story, approximately 6,854 square feet driveway, walkway, new sanitary system within jurisdiction of dunes and beach vegetation, outside the town's maximum height requirement, and to allow a portion of the second story to be constructed with no interior access to the residence. The relief sought: two variances and a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 of the East Hampton Town Code are required for this application. One variance of 4 feet from 255-11-10 of the Town Code is required to construct the residence with a height of 29 feet, where 25 feet is the maximum allowable. One variance from 255-11-67A3 is required to allow the second-story library to have no interior access to the residence and any other relief necessary. This zoning district here is an A residence VE velocity flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. The flood zone elevation is not listed there, but we have that. Council, do we have I have an affidavit of service. Have you reviewed this, or this is something
Yep.
else in here?
We have the affidavit of service of posting, appears that notice was proper.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this is in my Amagansett district. So I did a field report. And these are lovely pictures, so I'm sure you'll want to zoom in. LTV informed me they love it when we zoom in because it looks better going out to our thousands of fans out there in TV land. Okay, board members, I just want to make sure we're looking at the same survey here. I have a June 20th, 2019 revised proposed scenic easement. Anything more current than that?
I do not have that.
I have January.
I have January 31st.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is the other, sorry, this is not that.
What?
This is from another file here. This got dumped in from
Probably
another
just
file.
shocked them to
Yeah.
realize they're proposing an easement.
Yeah, exactly. Somehow that got misfiled. Tim, what was that date you called?
I have January
January
31st,
Good.
2019.
Great, thank
Yes,
you, thank
me
you.
too.
All good, board members?
Yep.
I have other copies if you need here. Okay, so we'll start off here. Thank you, Beth. Okay, board members, here I've pulled in right to the top of your survey, right at the driveway you see where it kind of forks off. So I'm basically looking almost due south, a little bit west, and that's a two-pronged driveway, and that's, actually, you see one of the existing houses in the dead center, and then right beyond it is another neighboring house in the distance. And actually, on the right-hand, pardon me, Beth, on the right-hand side, you see as well another house that we all remember from an application years ago. So there's three houses in that image. Thanks, Beth. And
sorry,
the
which is the
posting is knocked over. You see that's the posting there. Sorry, go ahead, Terry.
I'm sorry, which is the 61? Which is 61?
Which is the
Dunes Lane?
driveway?
Is that the,
They're the two driveways. They're both on this. If you look on the survey, they're shown on the survey. They're both.
We have black and white.
Oh, sorry.
Quite as
Yeah,
easy
I can
to
pass these down.
see it.
I should pass down a larger one if you guys want to look at that.
Color is always helpful.
Yeah,
and color helps, yeah.
yeah. Again, the survey question.
So here's our,
Issue.
Oh,
Okay, so you see that it's on the survey, the proposed is in green and the existing is in the gray or the light gray dashed. Okay, next, if you would, please, Beth.
well, they had two houses. House here now that's been moved.
Okay, now I've turned, I'm at the same spot, basically turned just a little bit more, looking due west.
Yeah, I know.
Down, and you're looking down Dunes Lane there to the south and west, and then that's the one driveway on the left side of the photo, just to give you a feel of the area there. Next, if you could zoom in, thanks, Beth. Yeah, so now I've turned and I'm looking at one of the structures. So let's see, I've come in the driveway here, and I'm along the west side of the property line, and I'm facing south and east, and I'm looking at one of the structures in the foreground to come down. The other in the left side of the photo is the other structure to come down on the other lot that's being merged, and the far right is the neighboring lot on the western side of the property.
So these are the two
Those are the two
houses
that are coming down, exactly. And I'm kind of on the western driveway. Also, you see, I just wanted to point out this incredible vegetation. All the vegetation around these structures is really prime, beautiful existing vegetation, and I'm sure we'll be speaking with the applicant's agents about this later on in the meeting, in the hearing. Thank you, Beth. Okay, great. This is a similar picture, it looks like. I guess I was taking more of the vegetation. I just panned to the right a little, to the west more, so now you see the two neighboring houses, and then the one house to come down on the left side of the photo. Yep, right there, yep. The light gray house comes down. Thank you. Now I'm driving down, again, I'm driving in that western driveway, and I'm pulling up, and I've gotten out, I actually walked around, and I'm looking at the western structure to be removed there, where it says structures to be removed, and you see where the proposed sanitary field will be. I'm sort of standing in that area of the driveway, just where the driveway curves around the back of the existing driveway, curves around the back of that and goes and joins. So that's a shot, and I think in the foreground you might see bits of the deck of the other house to come down. So that's that view there. I'm kind of looking due east right there, basically. Next, if you would, Beth, thank you. And then I think I turned to the left. Yeah, I turned left here. No, I'm sorry. Now I've walked further down, and now I'm looking at the other structure. Thank you, that's much better. At the other structure in the distance to come down. And you see the driveway starts to curve back up to the north and east to meet the other prong of the driveway. And that's a structure on the right-hand side there that, there is a structure, I didn't see that on the survey, but anyway, that's another structure to be removed there. Yeah, it's like a shed building or something on the right side. Next, please. No, I'm coming down here,
It's
and
in
I'm
the-
looking
it's-
here.
It's right there on the left.
This one here, I think, Tim? See that? I think it's right there.
in the left of your picture now?
Yeah, no, that's another structure there. Now, so, but thank you.
That's the one.
That's
that
the
was
other one there.
Oh, that's.
So now I've come further on, and I'm looking at the, we'll call it the eastern structure to be removed, the existing house there. Just a view of that. So we're kind of looking due east right there, and beyond that is the dunes, and to the right is the dunes. Next, please. And then I climbed up, and here again, I just turned to look north, turned 90 degrees just to show you that incredible vegetation that's between this area and Dunes Lane to the northwest. And now I've climbed up onto that second story of that proposed house, and I'm looking at the neighbor to the west and the ocean on the left, you see? So that would be kind of a south and west view that I took. And now I'm panning across more to the south. Beautiful, incredible dune land, you see? We all know this. We all know this. This board knows this property very well, this area. Again, just panning further to the east, I'm just capturing that little railing of the deck to orient you with that southeast corner of the existing deck on that house, looking kind of due east, I'd say there. Another one. Here I pan back further to the north and east to, that's that deck that wraps around the existing house there, right where it says DW for the future dry well. And that's just looking back up at the art barge and the beautiful landscape that's there.
The radio tower.
Yeah, the tower, right, exactly. Yeah, the tower by the art barge. Another shot of that, just to give us more of the vegetation, that would be the east side of that house to be removed. I think that may be it, Beth. Okay.
That's the eastmost house on.
Yes,
Dunes
exactly.
Lane?
Yeah, the last few slides. have
So
all-
that's 55? That's 55? and
I believe
The other one's
it is. I
61?
think 61's further down. Yep. Any questions, board members? No.
Nope.
Okay.
Do you have another color copy?
Yeah,
of
sure,
this?
sure. Why don't you take that for now, and I'll tell it to you. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Ackerman. How are you?
Good evening, members of the board. Always a pleasure to come here. First order of business is there's only one variance now, 3-foot height variance.
Len, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you. With the air conditioning, could you speak up a little bit
Sure.
more? Because I can't hear you that well myself.
First, for the record,
Yeah.
there's only one variance, and that's a height variance of 3 feet. The other sought-after variance, we've adjusted the plans to omit that requirement. The client, based upon your presentation, I think you can understand the vision here of this magnificent property. And Michael Trudeau, who is the architect, is going to make a presentation and respond to some of the planner's comments, as well as to direct you through the vision he has for this property, as does the client. In addition to the architect, Tom Lawrence is here, who drafted the construction protocol, and the client is here as well, Reed Krakoff, who perhaps at the end of the meeting could just say a few words to discuss his program. So if I may,
Yeah, you had asked me, Len had asked me outside if he could kind of use his time with his architect right away.
I'm going to
because
bring
there's
that's what I would like to do, and then I'll
Right.
summarize.
And before I pick on the architect, Len, I know you might be giving us new submissions, and you should know better that we don't. If you are, we like to have them before the meeting, so that we can look at them and the planning department can look at them. So I will admonish you in advance if that's what you intend on doing here.
Well, Michael.
Wow.
I didn't even give you a chance, but I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
We're going to explain what we have.
Okay.
The submissions we have basically are a summary of what has been submitted, and then in response to Tyler's memorandum, we've made certain corrections, one of which was to eliminate the requirement for the second variance as well.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the landscape plan was a work in progress because we were constantly working to, respond to some of Tyler's comments. So to that extent, yes, I'm sorry, we haven't been able to get everything to you well in advance. But
Okay.
let's have Michael do
Okay.
his presentation.
You'll have to speak into the record over the microphone when we'll swear you in when you get back there, because otherwise it doesn't go into the record, okay? And we have
Thank
one
you.
for me and one for the file. Do you have one for the file? I could do it.
I
Oh,
can-
there is another there? Oh, good.
I'll look on.
Okay, we can share. I can share that for the file. I don't really need.
We have two for the file.
Okay, good.
We can give those to you later.
Good. So first of all, I'm going to swear you in. If you could give us your name and your office, and it's at your address, whatever.
My name
please.
is Michael Trudeau. I'm with Thomas Pfeiffer and Partners Architects in New York.
And could you spell your last name so Brittany can get that down? Your last name.
It's TRUAU.
Okay. Good evening. Can you raise your right hand, unless you're an attorney, as well? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, members of the board. So what I've just given you both is a copy each of the presentation that I'm about to show you, which is basically a series of architectural renderings, statistics, and drawings that reflect the current scheme. And secondarily, the book is updated technical drawings that reflect the totality of the documents that was submitted with the prior issuance to the board that generated Mr. Borzak's technical memorandum. So I think that is the document that you had requested from Len. We apologize, we're having it to you now. But it's the second book of those two things.
Okay, so you have a lot that we typically, like to give the applicant or the agent 10 minutes. So you have a lot to go through. So you're going to have to keep moving it along here, okay? We can
Yeah,
always give
I
you
will.
a little more time, but just so you know, okay? And Len knows that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So let me go here. Can you all hear me?
It's, yep.
Okay.
Speak into the yeah.
I will. Actually, let me turn this up. So this is the site, as you all know. We just talked about it through the series of photographs. It's a site that has two existing structures on it, a primary house here, which is 61, a primary house here, which is 55, and a series of other structures on the site, including a pool deck for 61 and an Airstream trailer that was kind of parked on the site. In addition to that, there are a couple of little sheds, and then there are a series of septic fields which would be abandoned. This is the overall context around the site. As you'd mentioned, it's this kind of incredible naturalistic dunescape. It's a really magnificent site. We were very inspired by all the planting around it. We kind of managed to spend some time back here. It's an unbelievable place. And so we initially started trying to evaluate how we go about developing this site. We spent a lot of times trying to study whether or not we keep two lots intact and we build two structures on two separate lots, or whether it was to the benefit of the house, to the site, and the ecology to combine those lots. The program for the project that we were given by Reed and Delphine was one for a series of discrete spaces. They're both practicing artists and designers, and they have 4 children, which spend a great deal of time with them at the site. The children are generally in their teenage years. And so it's a large family, and they are coming and going a lot. And they requested specifically of us a public place, a private place for work, for reflection, for designing, for artistry, and then a place for the two of them to spend together when it's just the two of them up there, or when the kids are in the main house. So that generated the program. There's this trifecta of uses that all have varying levels of publicity and privateness. Also important to them was the existence of the pool. The pool to them, especially for a for a summer house, primarily a weekend house, the pool is the heart of the place. And so you'll see that in the design. So in the design that we finally selected, we have three discrete kind of volumes here. Due to a sort of unique topography that we have out on this particular site, which we'll explain in a moment, the majority of the land behind the FEMA VE line is at a very, very, very low elevation relative to sea level. The VE floodplain line, which kind of hugs this line right here of the site, is 17 feet above sea level, and we're only allowed 25 feet of building height on a flat roof structure. So it was virtually impossible for us to build in this area because the topography wouldn't permit it versus the height of the bottom of the structure above sea level. So we clustered the house kind of over here. We tried to stay out of the valley of this dune here because it was a really kind of a special space in keeping with the character of the space back here. And on top of that, we kind of wanted to build the structure and the pool close to the ocean. So then moving through, we designed the very minimal site circulation. Actually, let me back up here. I should take you through this. The automobile entrance in this particular scheme is here. If you recall from the previous application, we had two driveways that came off of Dunes Lane, which was a point of concern for Mr. Borzak, and we take that very seriously. We combined the entrance down to a single, away from the double that exists now and the double that would have existed if we developed two separate lots. We have a very slight, narrow, gravel drive that comes up here and allows people to basically drop off their suitcases and drop off their groceries and things like that. If the plumbing...
Pardon me, is that site plan, that's a small image you're discussing. Is that...
Did you have an
Do you
updated survey?
Do you have an updated survey or a site
There's
plan?
an updated survey in that set there.
Yeah, because, you've got a lot of sheets to go through here, so... and it's not very clear, looking at a little image like that. You can direct us to what page we should be on, but we're going to have to keep moving along here. And
I will put the survey up right
yeah, that's a nice image, but we can't see anything
I
from
mean, we understand the design concept. What's important to me, especially, is you have you're combining two lots, all great and good. You have a combined existing clearing of 19,000 and change. I want to know what your total disturbance is going to be.
So
Not your final clearing, your total disturbance.
So here's our final numbers, and our total
I
disturbance.
don't want to know your final. I want to know what's being disturbed for the construction.
So our total disturbance during construction is beneath the allowable, and the number for that right now is 30,000. It's about 30,300 square feet. So the way that we've achieved that is in the design of this house.
So, but the point being, you're going to, and then your final is you're bringing that back down to 16? So you're going to be disturbing a lot of the existing dune land to do your construction. That's my point.
Well, what's happening...
So I understand that, but this is going to be very important to us here.
Yeah. We clearly understand that. And so what we've done in the new application is we've significantly reduced the size of the house, and we've taken the two-drive approach away from the pre-existing
Which
pros.
sheet do you want to direct us to so we can see what you're proposing besides that one image? Which sheet in your book?
So here's
You
the...
don't have a survey or a site plan that depicts anything.
There is... Here. So there is a survey, yeah.
The most that shows a single driveway, Tyler? Oh, okay. What is the date of that survey?
It was July 19th.
We don't have July 19th.
Let's see.
And it's in the book again, if it's helpful to you.
The second book?
Which book?
The second book.
Second book. There we go.
Okay, so you haven't changed. This survey, Michael, depicts what you're presenting?
Yes. Yeah.
That's important. Plans. You should set up, who knows what time it is? You should so we gotta go crazy here. 8:45, okay. Okay, so board member, who has a copy? This is July 19th, right here. You will have it? I think there might be one.
That would be helpful. Sorry, but
Here, I have another copy here.
this will be easier to look at here. if we have it.
There it is. That's what I was looking for. Board members, I'm sorry, I'm putting the survey here on the
Terry, here's one.
Got another one?
screen.
And Roy, did you have that one, Roy, or not?
Even the one in the book.
I'm
There.
getting confused here.
Is that, what date is
This one
that?
is this July 19th.
That's what you want?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's a drawing that we made specifically, to address the limit of disturbance question.
Try to speak up.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
obviously- You have a soft voice. I need this on the record.
Yeah, so this drawing that we're showing here is a drawing that we've generated specifically to respond to the limit of disturbance. So this is the combination of the disturbance that would be created by the pre-existing conditions. In other words, the 19,050 square feet that exists today that is considered disturbed. So that's existing 2 driveways, existing 2 parking lots, and existing 2 structures, as well as the existing pool and the existing septic field. And then here is the additional square footage that is included for the new structure and for the construction of the new structure. So this complies with the construction development plan that we'll talk about in a moment. And so this total area here is 30,132 square feet. 30,912 square feet of overall disturbance, including the construction disturbance and the demolition of the pre-existing drives and buildings, which is below the overall
Yeah,
permitted.
but the overall
allowable
contains within it dune land,
Yeah.
which is protected, so that limits you. So, you can't say I can bump it up to the thing. Your dune land is existing, it's protected by the town.
Yeah.
So you're disturbing a lot of that existing dune land. So what you have now, you have 2 lots with 2 small houses on it in meandering dunes and allows the dunes to meander in it. You're taking a lot of that away, albeit you are revegetating it, but you're destroying very valuable dune land that exists.
Well, and our house now is primarily located in the parking area here and the area that is over the existing house. Here's the underlay of the parking area right here and the existing house and the existing septic field. The other thing we've done is the old layout of the house projected a large volume out into this north area, which we've taken away, which we've removed because this appears to be the most intact portion of the site, this area right over here. So we've tried very, very hard. The photos that the chairman showed are taken from these views along these driveways. And as this house has been abandoned, this dunescape was very healthy and very intact and is really quickly reestablishing itself as well, which we found through our surveys of the site. So we tried very, very hard in the location of this house to not affect this really beautiful dunescape here. And in the adjustments that we've made to the design to remove the kids' wing, as we call it, we've tried to take away any potential disturbance in this area as well. So we're working with the plan as much as we possibly can to try and minimize the overall disturbance. I think that the pre-existing driveways are a little constraining. A fair amount of the 19,000 square feet are very linear, narrow, serpentine driveways that snake through the dune land that don't lend themselves to redevelopment, unfortunately, with a kind of a compact house structure.
Well, again,
But that's what exists there.
I was going to ask the same thing. I would, I guess, argue a little bit. I think it's commendable how you've revised this to the single driveway, but nonetheless, where you're, let's focus on the existing clearing, the existing 2-pronged driveway, where you are proposing your proposed driveway and the parking spaces over there, and is that a garage structure up there? No,
Yeah,
is that a garage structure?
that's a small garage
Yeah,
structure.
so you look at all of that area, except for a portion of the garage, is completely clearing this virgin dune land, and the whole new driveway coming down the east side, again, it goes by the airstream or whatever structure to be removed, it goes by that, but that's all clearing this beautiful land. All of your proposed parking up by the house is clearing, infringing on that as well as most of this serpentine walkway, boardwalk that you have coming through the land. And I guess I'm concerned that you didn't, as I think Roy is, maybe the whole board, that some of the existing driveway clearing would have been a perfect area to continue with instead of introducing all this new clearing.
Yeah, and I think that that's something we could certainly test. I mean, I think that that's a very valid point, and this sweep, our view of it is that it's very minor in that it just crosses this little bit here, but the point is well taken. I think...
yeah, not even so much that, just to and then I'll stop talking, but just the whole proposed along the whole eastern swath.
Yeah, so coming to that,
That's a lot of disturbance. It's unfortunate.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think that there's definitely a way that we can attempt to either... the problem becomes that we're trying to minimize the maintenance of the existing drives, which in...
No, I don't want... Yeah, and again, I'll just say, the northeast, I think you agree, that we look forward to seeing all that being revegetated.
Yeah.
The northwest, I mean, that one I'm not talking about. I'm talking
You're
about...
talking over here.
Exactly.
Yeah, and...
The existing one on the eastern side.
Yeah, and I think that there's a way that we can find to put the drive here, move it away from here a little bit. It's a point that's well taken. It's a point that I understand. And we can try and find a way to reuse the existing drives to the greatest extent that we can in order to minimize the clearing even further, if that's the primary concern here. We're happy to study that, and we're happy to comply in any way.
So we, obviously you do very professional work, and you've submitted these booklets, these booklets which have a lot of great information in them. And before we discuss this application, obviously we will be going through all of this. I just don't think tonight we're going to have time for you to go through every page with us.
Sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
If I could...
If you want to touch on something important or two, you can.
Yeah, I think I'd like to touch on the variances for a moment, if that's okay. As Len said, we are withdrawing the request for a variance for the second story without access. We have completely eliminated that variance by joining that building to the balance of the house and providing a stairway to the lower level. And so I think that we've found a happy resolution to that issue. And then the other variance, if I may, let me go over here. The other variance is about height, and I think that I touched on it earlier with regard to the FEMA floodline issues. Given the developable part of the site behind the VE floodplain line, and even with the AE floodplain line of plus 12 feet above sea level, we end up with a house that only would have 6-foot ceilings inside, which is against code. And so the genesis of the variance request for height is based upon, you can kind of see here, here's our floodplain line, and here's where the height of the house would be without it's a little higher than that, this is a graphic, but without the variance request, we just don't have the ceiling height inside.
So run through the cross-section, you're going from your required finished floor elevation. I believe you're proposing 8 foot at the first floor?
At the lower level, yes.
And how much separation between the ceiling and the
structure?
second floor?
The structure is approximately 2.5 feet.
Yeah, which you can fit. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
2 feet.
just to get the ductwork in and things like that. We're
I
very
know,
tight.
Yep. And then you're proposing a 9-foot ceiling at the second floor.
Yeah, and then our
a 2-foot structure.
No, we've even skimmed that down. We have a smaller structure.
18 inches or something.
Yeah, it's in the range of about 16.
Okay.
We've got our structural engineer working hard. So we have minimized this to the greatest extent that we can. It's just that the
Yeah.
developable area of the site is down at 6
Right.
feet above sea level.
Well, it sounds like you're attempting to do that. A last question is, if you could tell us what kind of reduction do we see in your most recent proposal, or with regard to square footage, GFA, square footage of decking, and that sort of thing? Because in the initial public notice, there are some big numbers, and I believe I like to think you've cut back on some of those numbers.
We have, yeah, my notes. Well, so here's the GFA reductions. We're down in the GFA for the overall house to 7782, and the decking and the pool area have all been decreased. I'd have to just go grab my notes to give you that number, but it's a decrease as well of approximately 15% for each of those areas.
From the initial application.
From the
what was
initial
noticed.
application, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
We're ranging generally anywhere from 15 to 20% reductions in GFA, lot coverage, lot clearing, decking area, drive area, all that. Drive area is basically more than cut in half. But we've been trying very hard to reduce all of the areas since the initial technical memorandum.
Okay.
What is the
Total
livable
coverage.
square footage?
What's that?
The livable square footage in there?
That is it's about 7,000 square feet exactly for the house
About
itself.
7,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
This is inclusive of the garage, which is approximately 550 square feet.
Great, and thank you. And again, we have all that information, which is
Yeah.
great, and we appreciate your thoroughness. I think we will give you another shot after you hear from the planning. I'm sure you might have one or two comments, and then we can talk about if the board members are amenable, perhaps leaving the written record open for you to submit a revised site plan or something like that you may be considering.
Yeah.
And we'll keep moving along here, and you'll be able to comment later on, okay?
John?
Thank you. Yes, Len?
Would you, since the client is here and came out, could we have just let him say a few words? Just give you just a sense, so, the personal side of this.
Sure.
Obviously, Roy is, as he always does, focuses on the big issue. I mean, the combination of the lots, the fact that FEMA compliant, new sanitary, all those are positives.
I understand that.
but we're all-
We're taking that, we'll take that.
No, of course you will. Of course, I know that. But, the heart of it is the clearing and the disturbance. But I just would like, if I may, read right there.
He's right
I
behind
just
you.
would like
Yep.
to read Craig up. Just,
Sure.
Sure.
And I'll just say that in light of that, I happen to believe that our dune land is our most precious resource, right? And it's can't be replaced very easily, so.
I understand.
Right.
I understand.
Revegetation's not the same thing. Yeah, thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. Hello. So my name is Reed Craigoff. I'm here with my wife Delphine.
Great. Could you speak, if you would speak up into the mic, could you?
Yeah.
Brittany has to get all this. Could you spell both your names? Just
Sure.
because I don't know if they're in the file.
It's Reed Craigoff, R-E-E-D,
Yeah.
and the last name is Craigoff, Krakoff, and my wife Delphine. It's Delphine.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you. And unless you're an attorney, I'll swear you in, please.
No, I'm not.
Okay, if you do, thank you. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. Just want to say thank you to the board for allowing me to speak for just a moment or two.
Of course.
Just to tell you a little bit about how my wife and I have approached projects in the past. We've done quite a few conservation projects. We've done, I can tell you about 2 or 3 that were historical houses that we actually recombined lots when they were separate, where people had subdivided, and just restored the homes without adding any square footage to them. Lasada is the one just down the street on Further Lane, where the house was an incredible house, but needed to be entirely rehabilitated. We took away some of the square footage. We recombined the middle lane and the Further Lane lots, as opposed to developing. And we're really proud to bring back to East Hampton, something that people really appreciated. We also had a visual easement with an agreement with the town, where people, when they rode their bike or drove by, they could share in the beauty of this house. So, we're really, really proud of that work. We also did a similar project in Connecticut where we bought an old estate in New Canaan, Connecticut, that had been approved for subdivision for actually 10 different developments. It was a large piece of land, about 50 acres. We actually purchased the property, recombined, and renovated the main house, and again added no square footage and no structures to the property. So we are very much purists in that way. We believe in a light footprint, and frankly, one of the reasons that we chose Michael and his partner, Thomas Pfeiffer, his firm, is that they're incredibly sensitive to the environment. I always say to people, very few people build contemporary houses that look like to me at least, look like they belong in the Hamptons. They always feel like they should be in Los Angeles or something, with so much stone, and they're 15,000 square feet. We want a house that's intimate. We want a house that's appropriately sized. As I know, Michael mentioned, the house was a good 25% bigger, and after the comments of your group, we decided that we really needed to right-size the property, and we feel good about that. The coloration, the materials, everything about the house is meant to have it sit lightly in the dunes. The pilings, concrete pilings, will be toned essentially to the tone of the sand. It's mostly glass, as you know, and steel, so it's something that will be quite light in the dunes itself, and that, again, was super important to us. I've been coming here since I was a kid, and I appreciate the beauty of the Hamptons as much as anyone. So, as I said, we're proud to be so fortunate to work on a project like this. It's an incredible site. One of the things we're so excited about is a property that feels undisturbed, that feels like it's part of that landscape. And the rawness is something that's really appealing to us. As you notice, there's no tennis courts, there's no frills, none of those funny things. We really just want to live lightly on the ocean, in the dunes, and have something that really is in keeping with the character of the space.
Thank you. Now, I know the firm, and I'm sure Roy does, and maybe others. You're working with a really great architectural firm, and the architecture is certainly part of it. But it's what we're really focused in on, and I think they understand that as well. But
yeah,
our concern is the architecture has to do with the character of the neighborhood and the visual volumes and all, which is super important. And again, you're working with very professional people, but nonetheless, as Roy says, it's our resources, and I think you and your wife seem to appreciate that. So thank you.
Understood.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we going to be able to keep the record open, of course?
Sure. I think we just leave it as a written record.
If you don't mind, I would like to have an opportunity to speak.
When you bring,
I mean, if you close the oral record, then we can't respond at all. Is there any reason for doing that?
Well, we haven't had the chance yet.
we haven't even heard from the planning department yet. So let's just keep moving along first.
Oh,
and
okay.
we'll decide
All right.
what we do. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all. Okay. Let's hear from the planning department. Then, if there's anyone else in the public who wishes to speak.
Tyler Borsak.
Good evening again, Tyler. Thank
for
you.
the planning department. So the application is to demolish the two existing structures and associated structures, combine the two properties, and construct a new 7,202 square foot two-story residence with swimming pool, decking, and associated structures within jurisdiction of dunes, dune vegetation, and also requiring a variance from maximum height of the residence. The variance to allow a portion of the residence to exist without an interior access has been removed, along with several other changes which have been discussed, and that's all happened since our assessment was written.
Right.
The property is located in an area of Amagansett with minimal development and only a few large properties which contain fairly large residences, which are surrounded by New York State property and the Montauk-on-the-Sea subdivision further to the east. The current application is unique in that it's proposing to combine two adjacent parcels, remove the existing structures, and construct a new larger residence with associated structures. This will excuse me. This will reduce the number of improved waterfront properties from 6 to 5 in this area. While overall the application is fairly straightforward, there are aspects of the design and implementation of the project that the board may want to discuss and take a closer look at to see if they meet the NRSP standards or if there are alternative designs which might better protect the surrounding natural features. The new residence is significantly larger than the two existing residences combined, and a large amount of disturbance is depicted in the plans in order to demolish and construct the new residence, although the applicants have submitted or supplied additional information on how they plan to revegetate as the project is completed in order to keep the total clearing underneath the maximum allowable. While a letter submitted to the board states that a revegetation plan has been updated, it appears that it still includes a significant amount of Pennsylvania sedge, which, while native, is not really appropriate for this area, and I'm not certain if they submitted something new tonight that sort of got rid of that Pennsylvania sedge, but that's something that we would want to see removed prior to a building permit being issued if the board approves it. The significant amount of disturbance overall in the project should be looked at closely by the board, especially when discussing the NRSP standards. And that gets at the sort of the main point of what we look at in this application, and that is the best way to preserve dune land habitat is to limit initial disturbance and reduce the amount of revegetation that is required as a result of the construction. The planning department also mentions the unique and sprawling layout of the proposed residence in the assessment, which the applicants have taken into consideration and have redesigned the house slightly. While more compact, the design could still be improved and disturbance reduced. Moving the second-story library further south and the living/dining area further to the east over the first floor below it would help to reduce the large amount of decking that's around the swimming pool, and also reduce the amount of second-story footprint, which is cantilevered beyond the first story. The proposed driveway is still very large, with what appears to be enough parking to easily fit, including the garage, 9 or more vehicles. The application is also not utilizing the existing disturbed areas very efficiently, with the western residence and swimming pool area almost all shown as revegetated, aside from the sanitary system location. Relocating the garage and parking to the existing swimming pool area would help to reduce that new disturbance that we're concerned with. While the project is improved over the original proposed structures, there still appears to be alternative designs which could be incorporated, which would reduce clearing and coverage, limit disturbed areas for the project, reduce sprawl, utilize existing disturbed areas more efficiently, and be more in keeping with the other developments in the Dunes Lane area while still providing the same benefits to the applicant. And other than that, I can answer any questions you might have. I have an aerial if you want to see it.
Sure. Thank you, Tyler.
Tyler,
Tyler, were you
you're-
given a copy, just a little housekeeping, did Tyler get a copy of the booklets and all? Right, and you do have one for the file as well? Great, thank you.
I gave my copy
To the file? Okay, I don't know if you have one more copy or not. If you could give Joan a copy, if you would, thank you.
I did this one this afternoon. That superimposes the residence as well as the driveway over the existing. So you can sort of get an idea what the neighborhood would look like.
Yeah.
It gives you an idea of the size of the structures on the aerial itself.
And this is based on the new submission?
The new survey, yeah. I geo-referenced the survey, then outlined it, and got rid of the survey.
So,
It's hard
so
to
your
read.
comments are still as
Based on
they
the new-
are,
the new
based on the new information?
Right.
So
It is better than the last the original.
what would you have them do with the driveway?
Well, I mean, the one suggestion was utilizing this area here. The sanitary system is essentially right here, but there's a lot of space there, which is, oh, sorry.
Yeah, if you could,
The sanitary system's here, and then there's a lot of space here, which is shown to be revegetated.
And what would you eliminate?
Move the garage over there, reroute the driveway to include that.
right, pretty much I think all of us would like to see any existing driveway or cleared area to be used for parking and garage and driveway. I mean,
Sure,
in a
rather than
perfect
having to
world,
clear
that's-
new areas for the garage,
Right,
utilizing space that's already cleared.
exactly, that's already cleared, right, and,
Well, aside
yeah,
from the
that's why,
clearing,
again, we don't like to typically, so you know, we don't, and Len knows, we don't normally go back and forth like our friends at the village do, but sometimes when, this is obviously an important project in one of the nicest areas of our town, I feel that it is worthwhile to perhaps do a continuation so that we can hear from Tyler, if we were allowed you to do a revised scheme, so that Tyler would have time to review it and comment, as would we, and would give you the chance to kind of present your revised scheme, because I think we appreciate what you're trying to do here, but we just don't want to see this dune land, any more of it taken away. So I don't know how the board feels about that.
I would like a continuation, and aside from the clearing and the revegetation, I'm concerned still about the size of the
Well, as
new
Tyler, I
house,
think-
and I think it can be tweaked further.
Yeah, again, thank you, Terry, for saying that, because as far as, since we are kind of giving you another shot here to give us your best shot, as far as, I would hope that you would incorporate Tyler's comments in his TAM and Tyler's comments this evening, because I agree with Tyler. I mean, I think we all appreciate your concepts and what you're trying to do, but I agree with Tyler's comments about some of the overhangs and double, we're always looking for a small footprint, and overhangs are great aesthetically and all, but they're also making a bigger footprint over the environment. So hopefully we would welcome any tweaks you may do that take into account some of our thoughts and Tyler's thoughts. It's only going to help your application, okay? In the big scheme. Any? He's just reading
yeah,
from
I
his
was
TAM. He's just speaking, and you have the written record and the tape and all. Any questions for Tyler, board members?
Nope.
Tyler, thanks for all your work on this.
Thanks.
Really appreciate your focus. We will hear from anyone in the public wish to speak on this application? No?
Are we keeping
Okay.
the record open?
So I think we're going to do a continuation.
Thank you. Okay, that's
So that, as I just said.
As
so
long as
that-
we limit it to one, right?
Yeah, only one, no more. This is it.
One
yes.
continuation,
It's
that's
not-
it.
Yeah, one strike and you're out.
One and done.
How much time do you think you need?
I don't know.
I would think it'd be long too, to do it properly. You can basically, we like to keep things moving so it's fresh in our head, but when something's, I know for you all to do your redesign and for surveyors and
And just keep in mind, when we're scheduling now, public hearings.
when we're scheduling, exactly
I don't know
right.
where we're at this point,
Yeah,
is where we're at now, so.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. I know you're going to need time, and we're going to need time to fit you in. So, Michael, could you come speak up to the microphone just so we're not talking from the audience?
Yeah. The October hearing would be fantastic. We could turn it around. I think we'd have to work with Tyler to find out what his review time period was. I think we understand the board's comments very clearly. I think
And Tyler's comments.
And Tyler's comments, and I think that we understand the task at hand, and we know we have good ideas. You all have suggested good ideas of how to do it, and we have some other ideas of our own.
The main thing would be to get it to Tyler soon enough so that you and Tyler can interact.
I think
Yes.
it's maybe 2 weeks. Tyler, would that be a good period for you to have 2 weeks to review it before we have the continuation hearing? Would that be fine?
Well, so,
And yes.
because usually what happens is they would submit and then the hearing would be scheduled.
Yes.
Or what we saying
Yes.
is that you want to just schedule the hearing for an October date and then,
Well, maybe we could for this one if we thought further. And I want to make sure Denise has and Brittany that they can fit it in. But if Tyler says we're out to the end of September when we put you out into 2 weeks after that, or that would give time. I mean, I don't know if something like getting it to here we are into the first week is gone of August, so we have 3 weeks in August. Perhaps if you were to get it to Tyler by
But-
the end of September, we could schedule you for mid-October. That would give you 6 weeks or so.
That would absolutely be fine with us, yeah.
And that way you could have an updated survey and.
Yep,
and
we
it
can
would
have
be
an
your- It would
updated
be your
survey.
final submission for our discussion and decision.
Updated planting plan with the elimination of the Pennsylvania sedge. We can do all of that, make you one complete package,
Okay.
and then have the hearing in October. I think that
Okay,
would be
so-
great.
Okay, so, Council, if we can assume the middle of October date, and we could always, if something came up, we'd have to change it, but Council, could we do that and make a motion to leave it open until October,
We pick it.
whatever the second Tuesday, the middle of the month is?
so the October dates look like the 1st, the 8th. The 8th would be the work session, so then
So the
the
one after
15th.
that.
What?
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, what about just moving it
about
a
the
little
first?
And then
earlier?
22nd?
I mean, can you complete this stuff
We can,
earlier?
I don't know if we're gonna have many dates.
What
I'm
about the
concerned
first?
Denise doesn't have time we're booked to the end of
We're not
September, and
sure
I don't
what
want
the
to
date,
promise you.
we're not sure how far out we're booked.
Yeah, so you know what, I think we might have to go for make the continuation the 22nd, did you say, Council, of October?
Yeah, it sounds like.
Assuming that's a
Don't you
date.
think so? Yeah, because we have a full
I
schedule.
mean, I don't have it, I mean, I could run downstairs and tell you,
Yeah,
but I don't have it in front of me, right?
sure. Well, we can say the 3rd, and that way we would give you, if you could get it ready 2 weeks in advance.
Absolutely.
And-
We'd have it to Tyler sooner so that we could
Yeah.
be sure that
And-
we're collaborating.
Yeah, and to
well.
us as well, copies for all of the board
Absolutely.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'd have 2 weeks to review it before the continuation,
Mm-hmm.
if that
Understood.
works, okay?
Yeah, that's completely fine.
Okay. Okay, Council, so what would be the 3rd Tuesday? Do you have a calendar there?
22nd.
22nd, thank you. Okay, so we'll do that for now, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
I just have one.
Yes, go ahead. Of
One
course, Roy.
request from maybe
Sure.
Lenny is, if, when you come back, if between now and then, would you consider covenant on this property to limit further development? Further development, further development of the property? Like,
Further development.
what's it-
Well, further development.
In other
I mean,
words-
you have to. For me, I have to understand what you mean by development. You mean no further
expansion,
applications?
expansion of the house or whatever.
Expansion. Yeah, but we may need some wait, Andy.
You don't have to answer now, I'm just
Andy,
throwing it out.
Andy. Let me talk. Let me think about it. Let me talk about it. I have to understand. I mean, if it's no further building permits, if there's something.
No. It's not-
That's different.
I don't think it would matter,
Yeah.
but I think
Expansions, footprint, GFA coverage.
that's correct.
Yeah, okay. We'll talk about it. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got to do a
Yeah.
scoping session from this meeting. We've got to look at LTV, look at your pictures again.
Sure. Right, you can come back.
I understand, I
You
understand.
can come back and give us what you want to offer.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, will do.
Okay.
Good, thank you. So it's a continuance.
Yes, it is. It's a
Good.
continuation. So I'm going to read this all in before you leave, so we can hear. Okay. So board members, with regard, if you could hold up a second, you all, hold up, so we can hear. Thank you. With regard to 55 Dunes Lane LLC at 61 Dunes Lane LLC, pardon me, it's, I'm going to give you the tax map 300-129-2-22 and 23. And again, this is lots 3 and 4, map number 5594 in Amagansett. I make a motion to have a continuation of the public hearing, October 22nd, 2019, and that the applicants will submit at the end of September. It would be, we'll give you the first Tuesday in October, to the planning department and the zoning board, their revised submissions.
Second.
Thank you. We have a second, Terry?
Second.
Roy?
Concur?
Concur.
We just need to concur. Okay, thank you all. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I concur.
Thank you, Tyler, board members.
Brittany, that was Brittany paying attention?
Is this,
No, not today. No, we have, don't have a
next
work.
week we have a
not
work
today.
session.
Not today. Next week is all work session.
Sometimes we do work sessions after hearings.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can come. and
Yes,
listen.
yeah.
You can't say anything.
You can, Len, you can come join us anytime you want.
Really exciting.
Sometimes
Sometimes,
we do.
mostly we do.
Sometimes we do.
We're here till 11:30 sometimes, Len. Yes.
Every
really.
Tuesday.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Tyler, thank you.
Do we have other business this evening, John?
Okay, Len? Len, we're kicking you out. Yeah, I'm going. No, you can listen. We just have to keep, you just can't talk. Sorry. Okay, board members, that brings us to the end of our public hearings. I believe the minutes we're going to table for next week. No, I don't think they're posted yet, that's why. Yep. And council, I believe, do you have any business, council?
Nope.
No? Okay, board members, I think that brings us to the end of our agenda.
Hey.
Vice Chair Daleen?
Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to adjourn the Town of East Hampton zoning board of appeals hearing on August 6th at 9:20 PM.
Second.
Concur.
And I concur. Thank you, Roy. Thank you all.
And to all, a good night.
You all.